knockouts, welcome in, welcome in. Make sure that you have your popcorn. Make sure that you go and put whatever food you need in the crock pot and get ready for today's broadcast because we are doing a full and complete breakdown of all the dust, trash, rubbish, all of the stuff that we saw in last night's broadcast. So if you didn't get a chance to see it, that is fine because we're going to be playing it today. And so just get ready for it. Text Notification Squad, welcome. And we have a treat. If you refresh, you'll see the thumbnail, as well as we have Cynthia G in the house and Nylah and Irene. And we're going to be breaking this down piece by piece, what it is that we hear, what we see, all of that. So thank you all and thank you. Welcome in. Welcome.
we look
Okay.
at when we look at a
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, Tanya. Hey, everybody.
Hey, Chad.
No, I was in the audience. Yeah.
Sadly, I did see it. I wish I could erase the memory, but it's unerasable at this point.
Oh God. Hello, can you hear now?
Hmm.
No, it's the people online. The broadcast started and I still had the mic set up for talking backstage. So they didn't hear. That's probably why the captions weren't working because it wasn't coming through the broadcast. But at least that's the telltale sign. So we'll have to go and we'll have to do that whole intro all over again. All right, welcome in everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have a very special treat for you all today. I am your host, Tanya TKO, and we have an amazing panel of women here today to be able to discuss
Tonya, the chat is saying they cannot hear you.
I know, but they're 20 seconds behind.
Oh,
They're
okay.
20.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so they hear us now. They hear us now. Yes. Thank you, Irene. So, text notification squad, welcome, welcome. I'm gonna get your chat up on the screen. So, ladies, if you just want to come by one and say hello and give a little 30-second introduction on who you are and what you talk about on your channel.
Hey, it's me, Sanji. Dusty King Shanard, you're not getting the link, so it just is what it is. We kind of empty trash bags on my channel. And so that's my little intro. I can't wait to get into this.
And I'm Nylah, and I do a variety of content. I like to talk about politics, definitely a little bit of celebrity gossip, esoteric, occult stuff, deconstruction of propaganda, and I also like to deconstruct the dust.
Okay, so I am Irene Yvette. My channel is The Radical Black Conservative. And I think I'm probably the most conservative person on the panel. I speak on both the issues with Black men and Black women. And I'm excited to be here with so many ladies that have varying perspectives. And I want to stress this is the essence of what an echo chamber is not. So the information we get here should be pretty solid.
All right, and Women's Sphere.
Okay. Hey, everyone. My name is Black. People know me previously as Black Woman Sphere, but I changed it to the Woman Sphere podcast. And basically, what I talk about is women's issues, especially Black women in the community. And I also talk about Black male identified women. I talk about spiritual connections connected to Black women. So, all in that range of things, basically things around women, because I'm a womanist. So, that's what I talk about.
All right. And as you know, I am your host, Tanya TKO, and I am a self-love specialist from TanyaTKO.com. I hope you learn how to love yourselves and one another. On this channel, we use viral video topics as teachable moments for what self-love or self-abuse looks like in your life. And we're going to be breaking down this video right here. So last night we had a chance to talk to a young man by the name of Julius Stacks. He was the one who hollered out N-word lover in a Clubhouse room when everything just escalated from there. We were able to get him on the broadcast and we were asking him about that. However, when he started giving his opinion about Black men dating white women versus white men dating Black women, we went down a rabbit hole that I didn't even expect to go down. So welcome in, everyone. If you ladies, we're live now on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. And so we're gonna go piece by piece. It's a long video, so we're going to. I started out doing an intro. Oh, give me 1 second. I need to grab. Can somebody else talk for a second? I need to grab a chat thing to put up on this thing so people can see the chat.
So I have to say, I am super excited that we're doing this breakdown. I was not able to see the entire broadcast from yesterday. However, from what I did see, it had to be the dustiest display of trash bag pathology that I've ever seen in living color. The little bit that I did see. And I don't know how people were able to, I don't know how Cynthia, Tanya, and everybody, I don't know how y'all hung up there with him. I just don't. I have never seen that level of stupidity in my life. It was incredible and very telling, and I'm surely looking forward to this.
Okay. Thank you. And you know what? You all have to forgive me. I'm feeling a little discombobulated. This is my first time doing an audio-only broadcast, so some of the screens are not programmed for this, but just bear with me. We're doing the very, very best that we can. So thank you all so much. And without further ado, we're going to jump into the video from last night. All right, so this is where we started, and then this is where we got him on the line. Let's see.
It was just in the hallway. I mean.
All right, so let's start at the very, very beginning. So, okay, so we did the text notification. You know what, as a matter of fact, we could play the text notification commercial and then go right into his whatchamacallit. All right. On the line, here we go. Are you tired of missing Tanya TKO's live videos? Arriving late when the video is well underway or about to end? Are you fatigued of only seeing a live video randomly while perusing YouTube and Facebook? Or worse, randomly unsubscribed? Well, now you can get a text notification whenever I go live. No longer are we dependent on the algorithm of these fickle platforms. For just $1.99 a month US and Canada or $4.99 a month international, you get a personalized text message 15 minutes before each live show. Now, you can show up early with the Text Squad, meet other people from all over the world, and get invited to secret broadcasts off Hey, I'm going to bring you on in a second, okay?
Support your favorite independent creator. Go to tinytko.com and click on text. Join the TKO Text Squad today. For just $1.99 a month US and Canada, or $22 a year if you pay in advance, $4.99 a month international, $50 a year if you pay in advance, you'll never again be tardy to the party. I'll see you on the next broadcast. tinytko.com/text. Are you tired?
Hey, all right. So welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. So we have the young man on the line right now. So let's go ahead and get the right screen up so that we can hear him. All right. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, hi. You're on the air live with Tanya TKO. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for calling, Tanya.
Okay, so I am calling you, hold on, I'm calling you so that we can get the full story out there. So tell everybody your name.
Julius Stacks on Clubhouse.
Okay, look, there's no need for you to be nervous, Julia. You said Julius or
Yeah, I'm
Julian?
nervous a little bit. Yes, ma'am.
Julian or Julius?
Julius Stacks.
All right, perfect. All right, Julius. All right, so why don't you tell us what took place yesterday? What happened? How did we get there? How did we end up where we are today?
Well, pretty much I heard from Clubhouse off of YouTube, and I wanted to join the app, and it was something that I could, I thought I could be beneficial from. So, I joined the app, and in the hallway immediately was these rooms with kind of controversial topics. So I looked at the topics and read them, and I joined the room, and I kind of stumbled upon a conversation. It was about something I feel strongly about within my heart, interracial relationships.
So so how long had you been on Clubhouse before yesterday?
About a day. I made my count on August 10th.
Oh, wow.
And
All right. I think we can skip. We don't need to see all of this, right? We can skip past this part, right? Because we really want to get into the trash bag logic. So let's go. Are we skipping, ladies? Ladies?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm fine with skipping too.
All
I
right. So
agree.
yeah. So let's see where we're going to skip to. Let's just jump forward. So for the people who are coming in, what we're doing is we're doing a breakdown of last night's video. So we're going to skip and see where things started to go awry.
And it came to a point where he was going to explain himself or answer the question.
This is when he was explaining. So let's take a
The
look and
whole room went
see.
in the uproar, and it was, I believe it was more for the reasons that a white male had said the N-word with a ER at the end.
Okay.
But one's white counterparts,
Right.
if they were found in the act of, so.
All right. So here, I think this is where the logic
compelled due to
begins.
his hesitation. Because
Okay, so this is where he was saying that he felt that he was lying because he hesitated, and that's when he decided to scream it out.
And that's the reason why I did want to apologize, and apologize for my comments, because I didn't mean to affect anyone in any negative way, but just to kind of put some heat on him, because I look at whatever black woman he's dating as my sister. And anyone that's dating my sister, you're going to have to go through some things. So I know that it's okay. She may know, but I need to know.
All right. So you realize that in you saying that you were calling your quote unquote sister the N-word.
Yes. And that kind of became prevalent a little later on because of the history of that term. And the context that is been used over history. You normally would hear that type of term coming from one's white counterparts.
Right.
If they were found in the act of, so if any derogatory term, it was pointed at the white male because of my stance, my personal stance, and not at the black sister.
So you're saying that you using the term N-word lover was pointed at him, but the N-word that you were talking about was her.
Yes, I understand that now at this point.
Had you ever used that term before?
I used the NIGGA term, but
I'm
not
talking about
NIGGR.
N-word lover term. See, you're hesitating.
No, I don't.
No. You're hesitating, just like you said that man was hesitating on the stage yesterday. According to
Here you go.
hesitation.
But no, I don't use that term again. I was trying to think of the context in which I, would use that term. I wouldn't use that term in any other context but that term there. I mean, that context there.
Right. Had you used the term N-word lover before?
No, I haven't.
So why did you have such hesitation when I asked you a few moments ago?
Well, to be honest, it was the background. I'm moving my car for my mom to get, to get out of where she's going so she can move.
Oh.
I didn't want any distractions in the air, in the sounds or anything. So I just was muting my phone back and forth.
Oh, okay. So you're.
But I have not. I don't use terms like that.
you don't use terms like that. So what inspired you? I wanted to ask him whether or not he was moving his car because he lives with his mother. Listen.
So, can we pause for a second? Because
Yeah,
I'm
of
about to.
course.
All right. So I want to talk about his isolation of the N word to Black women only. And for me, that just shows that a lot of them don't see us as the same people. They believe that they themselves are separated in their Blackness and in their persons from Black women. That's the only reason why you could actually say that to him and make him realize that he was insulting her and not him. But I think by saying it as well, he was trying to shame him for loving a Black woman, if that makes sense. Because to throw him the N-word lover with the hard ER was a shaming tactic to him, because that's literally how white supremacists shame each other who marry and date out. So you, on one hand, he's disconnected from Black women, when he says, the ER lover, NIGER lover, and then he's trying to shame another man for being with a Black woman when he probably won't even be with one. I just find that really interesting.
I think that this is like the biggest case of performative love I think I've but it's not so much performative love from a intellect where a Black woman will actually fall for it, because we know we have Black men online that get Black women to fall for all of the performative love that they do. But another thing that I'm noticing with him is he doesn't have the intellect to even get you to believe that he really cares about Black women at all. So I'm thinking that this was all something that he thought about doing before. I think he knew who everybody was. I don't think he was new on there. I don't believe anything he said. I believe it was a setup. I believe he's one of those weird guys that watches Black women who date outside of their race, and he has a weird fixation on it. So it's just nothing he said seemed genuine. I'm picking up the Tyrone spirit off of him. I think he got the Tyrone spirit.
All right, Irene.
Yeah, I was just going to say that now this is going to be revealed a little bit later, so I don't want to jump the gun. But I do think that the value that Black women have always held to white men in the advancement of white superiority is something that makes many Black men, this man included, really angry and really directing a lot of vitriol at Black women. And that they start to view Black women as the adversary, hence the idea of in lover, without actually registering that that refers to him too as like a separate thing. So that when he thinks of in lover and the elevation of Black people in white people's eyes, he automatically associates that with Black women engaging with white men, and automatically disposes the idea of Black men in that situation. And I think it is a convolution of their own inadequacy in the face of white domination and trying to project that onto Black women instead of facing the situation head on. But like I said, this is something he reveals later, so I don't want to get too deep into it. But that's the first thing that came to my mind when I heard him saying that, is the same thing the ladies, Nylah and Angela, posed, which is this ability to disassociate that derogatory term from himself and directed exclusively at a Black woman because of his perceived belief in her elevation over himself.
That's deep. That's deep. All right, so let's jump back into the rest of it. Here we go. Where did that even come from? Where had you heard that term?
I've heard that term used between white people, and it usually ends in them sweating, turning red.
Really? I'm talking about the N
I
word
mean,
lover term, not just the N word,
oh,
but the N word
nigger
lover.
lover
Yes.
saying that? No, I
Yes.
haven't used that term. I don't use that term unless now when I saw fit to use it was when I was talking to this white man to let him know this is probably what your family was saying to you when you brought that sister home. If they didn't say it to you verbally, they might have been thinking it. And I'm pretty sure from my experiences and everything, he probably got a little backlash for that.
Yeah. So people are saying that you're
That's
an
the same.
agent.
They were saying that I was what?
You're an agent.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not an agent. No one has employed me to do anything or say anything. I said that because of my own personal reasons.
Okay. And so, listen, just so I get the full context, right? You say that you have an issue with interracial dating, but more so when a white man is dating a black woman, right? But less
Yes,
so when a black
yes.
man is dating a white woman.
I would look down on him, but not as much as
And
the
tell us,
sister.
explain to us why.
Okay, just as a disclaimer, I've never dated or had any sexual relations with a white woman in my entire life. Okay, but to explain that is because those are my peers. Those brothers are my peers, and to really maintain dialogue with them is really to put it, those are my peers, and that's how I can really put it. Of course, I'm going to be a little lenient on them with the situation and the fact, because I might look at that as, that's one up for us.
One up, what do you mean by that?
To me, I mean, we can look back on the movie The Color Purple. I know it wasn't really a color thing, but more of a sexual orientated feud between genders. But what that movie portrays is a war between black women and black men. Starts in the home. And in that
So
war, we
please.
have certain players and we have certain cards that are in that war.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. I just can't give me a second. Okay. All right. So this is really interesting. I'm so happy we're doing this. So I find it really interesting that when these men are talking about interracial dating and marriages, they go antebellum when it's discussing relationships where the dynamic is a white man with a black woman, but they don't go antebellum when they're discussing a black man with a white woman, like as if her presence within that system did not exist, like as if, stuff did not happen to black men as well during the height of their subjugation on the word of a white woman. I find that very interesting, and to the point where like the delusion is just it's very interesting. Another thing was that he basically said that he feels differently when they have his woman, right? Or not his woman per se, but you know what I'm saying. When they're with black women, um, he feels a little bit differently. And I think it's because he does have an understanding of that white man's dominance within the society, right? So much that he wants to pretend like these men are his peers. Um, so I think that when he sees white men with black women, he is reminded of his subjugation. He's reminded of his inability to compete on the levels that men are supposed to be competing on, right? And on top of that, it is a black woman with a white man, especially for an emotional black man that's not building anything with a dusty trash bag logic. That white man with that black woman reminds him of the very simple thing that we see playing out all through history. One of the marks of seeing a society that is dominated by another group of men is that group of men can come in and take your women. and take liberty with them, have children with them, and do whatever they want to do with them. Now, needless to say, we are not in in the same position as we were during that time, but just on a psychological level, that's what happens. You see, they go in and they get with the women. That is the mark and the signature of their dominance within the society. And that's not even just a black or white thing. That's just a human nature thing. That's historical fact. The men will go in after they have decimated the men. When the men are conquered and rendered useless and powerless, now we take your women. Somewhat like, maybe you can call it war booty or whatever, but that's what it is. That's what it's saying to him in his mind. But he doesn't get it when it comes to the women. And it's really interesting that he brought in the color purple. I don't even know how far he's going in on this, talking about how like the problem starts in the home. The problem in the color purple started with the men. The problem started with misogyny and with men, Black men wanting to take on the role and the position as oppressors in the same manner that their white male dominants did them. So instead of these men coming in and being the caretakers, the protectors, and the providers, if we're using the color purple, and if you guys haven't seen my video on this, I did a breakdown on the character Mr., as well as we did a panel discussion about it. Listen, they came in to be the oppressors of Black women instead of, aiding in our quote unquote freedom. They want to imitate white men throughout the entire, movie, basically, and throughout, and it's playing out in society. So I think he played himself and actually showed what was in his particular trash bag in this moment. I find this extremely interesting.
It is. And I actually want to, can I piggyback really quickly off of what Nylah said? Because, you're definitely right when you talk about them adopting the white supremacist mentality towards Black women that the men traditionally had towards them. And I think the first display of that was him calling her, calling that man of no colors an N-word lover. And this was traditionally actually used towards white women who would get with Black men, but now he's turning it around and doing it with the reverse of it, because there weren't really that many white men who were ostracized for being with Black women. And this is still the case. They didn't get the stigmas. They didn't get the social ostracization. In fact, it was actually seen as, and still is, a rite of passage and the pathway to manhood to be with a Black woman. So white men still aren't ostracized for being with white women, they're still not ostracized for being with Black women. They're actually congratulated. And there was a focus group that I broke down. It was an interracial panel focus group, and the white men said that exact same thing. They congratulate other white men on their ability to obtain a Black woman. So in essence, I'm saying that to say the term N-word lover actually wasn't in reference to a white man. It was in reference to a white woman who likes Black men. But because Black men have adopted the white supremacist mentality that they weaponize against Black women, that is why he's using that term on Black women. It shouldn't have even came out of his mouth, really. A Black man should never even think, I don't care what the situation is, to call a Black to refer in any way, shape, or form. Because you're right, Tanya, he's not insulting the white man, he's insulting the Black woman. And just based off the fact that he would call her that tells you how much he demeans and degrades and devalues Black women.
And honestly elevates Black men. I want to triple down on this, but I want to also double back on what Nylah brought up, which was the slavery connection. Ultimately, when white men engage Black women historically, when they have engaged Black women historically, it has been to assert the conclusion of their physical dominance over Black men. So they come in physically and dominate Black men physically. And then the conclusion of that physical dominance is the sexual dominance of Black women. And then the elevation of whiteness through this sexual dominance. So not the promotion of Black women being an elevation or interracial relations being an elevation of whiteness, but that being an exemplification of the dominance and superiority of whiteness. And this is merged with their elevation of the white woman. So to even speak about interracial dating from a male perspective, where the woman who is not of your race is elevated, is contradictory to the actual implication of interracial ideology when it comes to reproduction and dating as an elevation of Blackness. But also when we look at slavery times, when white men engaged Black women, it was an exploration of their dominance and extreme desire for Black women. However, when Black men engaged white women, it was based on the white woman, speaking of slavery, the white woman being jealous of her husband's lust toward Black women, and then subjecting Black men to what was essentially rape in a situation where they could be killed for engaging her and forcing herself upon them in vengeance, ladies, against the Black woman. And this is not my opinion. This is historical and actual fact. So it is crazy to me that he would distort a white woman taking advantage of a Black man in an attempt to take revenge upon a Black woman because she is angry that a white man desires her flesh as anything other than what it is. And we see this distortion being played out further, but I think a lot of this is kind of a cognitive dissonance and the exception that your vitriol should be and your energy should be focused at other men and not being angry at women for being simply what they are. Womankind is desirable on the whole. The fact that Black women are elevated in their status of desirability, right? Simply because of the fact that their conquest doubles down on your physical conquest is not a reason to hurl those sorts of insults at a Black woman. And let's not make the mistake, when he hurled the N-word lover, right, at that white man in relation to his connection to a Black woman, what he was saying is, because when white people, and he acknowledged this himself in his own words, is that's what white people say to each other. But what he failed to connect is when white people say that to each other, they're saying, oh, you're degrading yourself by being with a Black person. Somehow he thought hurling an insult at a Black woman that speaks about the degradation of whiteness and attachment to Blackness somehow elevated his positioning. And of course, again, not to get ahead of the conversation, but we know that later he actually seems to double back on that by saying that somehow the Black woman is an Nigger, right? But the Black man is elevated when he attaches himself to white vag, which is the height of insanity.
Yeah, I'm so glad that that Nylah and you brought this up, because I wanted to circle back around to what Nylah said about the men coming in, dominating the men, and the result of that ending up with the men then having sexual access to his woman and him not being able to do anything about it. So isn't it a little understandable why Black men may feel a sense of pride and joy with getting with a white woman? Because it may seem, according to that logic, like he has one up on the white man, because now he has dominated whatever sphere he's in and has now gotten the sexual access to the white man's woman.
That's what I was about to say. I actually think, and me and Irene have disagreed on this before, so I actually think it's extremely dangerous to promote the same rhetoric that Black men do when it talks about why other men of different races and cultures and ethnic backgrounds desire us to just dumb it all the way down to sexuality. I think that's extremely dangerous to do, because that's the same thing Black men tell us when they see us dating outside of our race and being respected by other men that aren't Black, they say, oh, they just want to have sex with you. Oh, you're just a bed wench. So I think that's a trained process of thought that has been beaten into Black women to believe that that is the only reason other races of men will desire them and want to be with them. It is so many beautiful aspects of Black women that other women of other races and cultures and ethnical backgrounds just cannot even touch when it comes to us. There's nobody like us. There's no women out here like us. This is why we carry the algorithm of all conversations across several different platforms. This is why everything is repeated that we do. This is why the whole marketing, commercials, trend, hair, nails, everything is set by Black women. You get your game from a woman. You get your game from a Black woman. Everybody takes from us. So we can't get so comfortable. So where we keep thinking that the only reason why is because we're a little bit more sexual as far as how we look because of the curves and all of that stuff. We can't just think that that is the only reason why, because there's an essence to us that other women just cannot touch and it's unmatched. There's a reason for it.
I actually agree with Angela on that point. And I would say that that is the reason why white women took vengeance against Black women by approaching Black men and forcing them into sexual relationships. So for them to view white women's preference as some sort of elevation of themselves rather than a direct assault against Black women for what they recognize as superiority, regardless of how their men elevate them, which is done in a self-imposing, a self-promoting sort of ideology, regardless of Black men, of white men elevating white women, their actions say differently, because the moment they engage a non-white woman, they then elevate connection to her. And I think white women recognize that, and that's why they have used Black men as an assault weapon against Black women. Black men have sort of distorted that in their minds to think that that elevates them rather than recognizing it for what it is, which is an attempted assault against Black women out of jealousy. So I actually do agree with Angela to the point that the preference for Black women is not as superficial as often it's put forward.
Yeah, I just want to I want to respond to Jameis inside the comments who is saying forcing them. A person who is enslaved cannot consent. Whether they seem as if they are willing or whatever, they do not have the ability to consent, especially if they did not consider us humans at the time. Property cannot consent. An animal cannot consent. A person whom you quote unquote own, a person who is imprisoned by you, a person trafficked by you, a person who doesn't have free will cannot consent. Black men could not consent. Black women could not consent. This is why I don't like the term bedwench, because she was a RAPE victim. She couldn't consent. Black men couldn't consent. And these sickos latching onto trafficked humans and having intercourse with them, forcing themselves on them is depraved.
Yeah, I think that what a lot of Black men, and I don't know who said that in the comments, and I think this is something that traps Black men up because they don't understand what consent is. In the absence of a person's ability to say no, it makes them saying yes null and void, because that is the only thing that they can say. The only thing, a slave can only say yes. They don't have the option to say no. So therefore, you don't have consent. You just don't, because there's the other option is removed. And I think that because Black men don't understand what consent actually is, this is perhaps why they keep getting caught up in these sexual cases, because they don't have a working understanding of what consent actually is.
Yeah, and you know what? And that goes for the workplace as well, because if is in control of whether or not you make money. Like Cynthia just said, if a person cannot say no, by default, they cannot say yes. If you do not have the ability to say no, then you don't have the ability to say yes. It's impossible. Let's continue forward in the video because there's a lot more that we need to get through and so many jewels to break down here. So let's continue.
And the white man is one.
Okay. So go ahead. I'm listening. I want to hear your full context.
Okay. And so if he's one of the players, then for him to, because all right, this is one of the things. Another disclaimer: in a relationship, traditionally the male is the head of the household.
Okay.
So in that sense, a white male being a head of a household where the woman is black, that kind of in the back of my mind is, to me, that's that slave house. That's that slave house affair. Okay.
Okay.
So from that slave house affair, of course he's going to get backlash. He doesn't even want to claim the baby. You know what I mean? And he's going to get backlash even now to this day. So that's what I was speaking towards when I did say that comment. He might have sugarcoated it or put it in a different term, but I mean, what do you really, that's where my mind easily went to.
Okay.
And,
right, but
I don't know if
you were saying that it's kind of a one. All right.
Okay, I'm so sorry. This guy is crazy. I think this is key. Do we understand why he's likening the white man being a head of a household where a woman is to slavery? Really, really, you can really see their psychology right now. Why is all this talk about submission in relationships as it relates to men who are providers? Of course, we know that when you're in a relationship, there's cooperation here, which that's submission, and it goes hand in hand irregardless of gender. There's going to be some level of submission because submission is basically cooperation when you're talking about a relationship between adults. But submission in the context that a lot of Black people talk about, especially these Black men, is more of a slave owner, I'm the boss, I own you, I can take liberty with you type of context. The only reason why he would see a man that is head of household in a slavery light is because they don't view themselves as men unless they are oppressing. They being the collective, unless they have the ability to oppress, and I would say even misuse, they can't see themselves as head of house, which is why it doesn't sound very good when we listen to the rhetoric of people who say that they're a high value man. When they lay out what it's supposed to look like to them, it sounds very, dark and very harsh for women. This is why. This is very telling that a man, just because he's white, it's related to slavery if he's head of his house. Because that just means, like I said, if they're head of the house, they believe they're the master.
Well, and it also speaks, actually, and see, I lose my train of thought so very much. The thought just flashed by me. Oh my God. And my thought was good too. Let me go on mute until I figure out what I was going to say.
It'll come back. All right. So, my earpiece fell out. Hold on. All right. Sorry about that. All right.
Oh, so, okay. I remember it.
Oh, okay.
And just remember it. You know how they're always saying they want that traditional woman. They want to go back to the 1950s. They want to go back to a time when women didn't have a choice. She couldn't say no to sex. She couldn't say no to getting out the relationship. She could not say no. So they want a dynamic where women don't have any choice in anything. And I think that literally relates to what Nylah is saying, where they look at dominance as being in a situation where they're enslaving somebody ultimately. And that's why they want to go back to a time they can't deal with women having choices. They don't feel like they can be a man in a situation where they're not able to impose on women.
That's interesting. I do want to ask you all a question. This is something that I was thinking about early this morning. In the latter part of the broadcast, I ended up actually having to curse at Julian and raise my voice at him, in order to get him to listen and behave. And I wonder is there something ingrained in Black people that we need to be governed by a heavy hand?
I believe so. When like, and this is I don't want to get too far off into this part, but this is why we get into these conversations when we're talking about what happens within our community as far as, you know, whether or not the people are building or doing what they're supposed to be doing within their roles. A lot of people want to do anything but the hard work. The first go-to that we go to is, you know, we need to have an, you know, this goes to me back to the leader thing, where Black people feel like they need a pastor or some sort of governor within their homes or within their communities in order for them to act right. I do believe that. But even before we get away from that, I just want to say that I wanted to piggyback off what Sin said for a minute. These men want that, what she was describing. That is that golden age of Black male patriarchy, where there was no rules and there were no repercussions for their mistreatment of women and children. But yes, I absolutely do believe that, because Black people have this thing where they have to have a boss. They cannot be governors of themselves. They have to have a boss. They have to have someone to tell them who to marry, how to raise their kids, how to dress, what music is acceptable, what is good and what is bad. We have this innate thing about being ruled.
Mm-hmm. And remember, I feel like it's the same thing also with them saying that women are the gatekeepers of sex. Why are women now the gatekeepers of sex? Because they can say yes or no. Rather than in the past, women didn't have that right, not even within her own relationship, you know. And so they'll tell you that because they are a woman, then it makes her the gatekeeper of sex. When really, it doesn't make her the gatekeeper of anything. It simply makes her able to consent and say whether she wants to or not with the man. But she can't control whether he has the ability to go be with anybody else. So she couldn't be the gatekeeper. But he thinks she's the gatekeeper because he can't, again, impose himself on her, because she gets to determine, she essentially gets to say no. So therefore, now she's the gatekeeper.
And can we clear something up? Because I know that there's a remedial understanding about domination. Most of us like our men to dominate us. What does a man dominating you as a woman mean? It does not mean oppress you. So when you guys are trying to deflect and say lots of men want to dominate women, that's a natural thing. The natural order is for your man to dominate you on multiple levels, right? But dominance does not have to equal oppression. That's the problem.
Or that's degradation, right?
Right. Or degradation. Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to degrade.
Exactly. And I want to double down on what Nylah and Sin are saying by just adding that for so many generations, we cannot discount this. For literally hundreds of years, and even in the modern day, Black men's sexual access to women and who they could access, who they could impregnate, who they can marry has been controlled by white men, right? From slavery into the modern day. Even when we think about what we no longer call miscegenation, that is afforded to them by white men. So white men have had complete control over sexual access and reproduction of Black men. So I think the step of taking responsibility for their own sexual, dating, and reproductive actions is beyond them. So they're always trying to, as a collective, not all Black men, but as a collective, many of them have an issue understanding this. So they're always trying to pass the buck and say that responsibility falls to someone else because they're not used to having the position of accepting responsibility for their actions. And so that also causes them to degrade the Black woman in her options, because in their mind, options are not, right, and choices are not the determining factor of maleness, right? Being allowed and being afforded and being co-signed and being given access to is what they equate to how men move, rather than active choices, which honestly is heartbreaking when you really think about it. And as we get into this, I'm sure that Tony's going to be playing those things. as we get into this, you're going to see that's actually this young man's mentality. It's about the affording of access, being a co-signment of his own validity, rather than his assertion and responsibility of access to vagina, specifically white vagina, being the thing that is the determining factor of his own maleness. And I think that this is an interesting dynamic. There's that complete lack of accountability and passing the buck because they don't know how to stand in their
Yeah.
own decisions
My
as men.
question is how did women get wrapped up in this madness? Like, why are we the pawns on the board for them to use for their sexual conquest to get back at other men? Why not just have intercourse with
Because
each
they
other?
have no power. They have no power. And the only power that they have been getting for hundreds of years has been given to them through the support of women.
Right, but white men do it too. Like, yeah, I got your woman N-word and you can't do anything about it. Look at the
But if
brothers
you can't,
staring
but
at
not being
me.
able to, not being able to maintain the woman has been the problem. And so when you can say, okay, I got the woman or whatever, if you can't maintain or compete with the other man, essentially you can't necessarily dominate. And a lot of women are thinking for some, I don't know why, maybe it's a generational thing, but like context clues in relation to dominance. And Irene, help me out with this. When we're talking about dominance, we're talking about stuff like if you don't want your man to dominate you, to dominate within a relationship, then you want to pay the bills, right? What I mean is that man take leadership and take charge over the masculine roles within the relationship dynamic. I mean, take charge financially, take charge as far as safety, protection, leadership and stuff. We're not talking about BDSM in this moment, even though we don't have a problem with that necessarily, if that's what people want to do. But we're not
ultimate responsibility, right, Nylah? Being
ultimate take responsibility.
Be culpable, right? Culpability.
Exactly. But it's like women are, I understand a lot of women are dealing in situations where men are unhealthy and maybe even abusive and take advantage of the cooperation that the women give them, right? And so I'm not coming from I've been jaded and I have to protect myself from the situation that I'm in, but I respect that a lot of women have to put that extra barrier up because they are vulnerable, and this is the mindset of a lot of people. But no, I'm talking about get in front and be the man in the situations that call for that to be. That's what I mean.
So I wanted to say something.
Go ahead, Women's Bear, because you have it.
Okay, I don't want to lose my train of thought. I really feel like this way of thinking is, and this is no disrespect to the women on the panel, but I really think that it's kind of like silly to think that men are stronger than us and somehow we just like that whole idea to me has been so proven wrong so many times over and over again, that women are way more capable of handling their emotions, handling their life responsibilities, handling their children, handling their relationships. We have been way more responsible and in charge of our lives in history than men are. So I think it's just like a sword fight amongst men to gain control over the natural way that women have with leadership. It's been a whole movement put up to make us seem more small and minuscule and meek than what we actually truly are. Women are extremely powerful. And I just don't view, I understand some women need leadership or they like to be dominated. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because I get you saying, a strong man or whatever, but it's just like, I just think that women are way more powerful. And I think that there has been an agenda amongst men to stop that for many, 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 many years. This is why there are so many movements of women stepping outside of that box. Like, no, that's not what it is. Listen, you can't even handle your relationship. How you going to tell me what to do and what to say? So it's just like, I think that idea and that train of thought that we are somehow always in need of leadership and somebody in front of us just needs to be did away with, because we don't need that. We really don't.
Well, you know what, Women's Fair, I want to say this. There's a difference between strength and power. Oh, okay.
And
Well,
I believe women possess both.
Actually,
I believe we
that's
possess
actually
both.
really, I think that's really strong. And I think also the way women exude strength is different from the way that men do. Men exude it physically, right? They show their strength with physicality. And then it's rare, and this tends to be the men women are attracted to when men exude it mentally. Women, we exude strength in our emotionality and in our mental. Our mental, the way that we move mentally, right? And the way that we move in our emotion are how we exude strength. I think it's more a complementing factor than anything. I don't think men possess the same strengths that women do. And I think those strengths are often degraded. And I think women don't necessarily possess the strengths that men do. And I think that that's okay. I think the problem is that men, because of their physical strength, have always degraded what women are, when the reality is when women are not functioning at our optimal, all of society suffers, because the foundation of what makes society works really falls in the hands of women. That mental and that emotional strength and energy that can make or break a person, that everyone is subjected to from birth, is ultimately the foundation of society. And I think that has long gone disrespected. And that is why so many women are really pushing back against male physical dominance, right?
yeah.
We feel the need to push back against it because we're being disrespected in our own right, not because anything is necessarily wrong with the differences between the sexes.
Yeah, you know what?
I just
Let's
wanted
we,
to,
we're only
I
15
just,
minutes into a 3-hour video. We
oh,
have
okay.
yeah,
I'll
there's
just say what I was gonna say later because it'll apply to something later anyway. So I'll just
yeah.
hold it until later.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and reset the room for everybody who is coming in. Right now, we are discussing this conversation that we had last night with Julius, the guy who screamed out N word lover at the Pink Pill's boyfriend, in which he responded back, yeah, I guess I'm an N word lover. And it caused a huge brouhaha online, in which we had a conversation with him last night. And he started out on an interesting foot and then continued to pack and unpack his trash bag logic on the stage, bag by bag. And so what we're doing is we are talking today about what that trash bag logic is, how, what we see, how did we get here. And so ladies, I would love for you all to take just 30 seconds to reintroduce yourselves. I am your host, Tanya TKO. I will follow up at the end and let you all know who I am. But ladies, come on, because there are 2,000 people on here now. And when we first gave the first introductions, there were 400 people on here.
So I'm Cynthia G, and I basically on my channel I break down the pathology. Everything that I do is related to psychology, the way that we think, and how that leads to our behavior, and why our behavior contributes to our position in society.
All right, Irene.
Yes, hi, my name is Irene Yvette. My channel is The Radical Black Conservative, and I take a more middle road traditionalist aspect toward socioeconomic policies and engagement and male-female interaction. I also have a pro-revolutionary standpoint with an emphasis on traditional familial and male-female interactional values.
All right, Nylah.
I'm known as Nylah Says. My channel is Nylah Says, and I have one as well called Nylah's Vibes. I talk about primarily politics, social stuff, occult and esoteric stuff, as well as a little bit of relationships. And I do piggyback off of Sin with talking about the Dusties. I come from a perspective of an older married woman with adult children. So I bring a little bit of experience to the bag.
All right, Women's Sphere podcast.
Hey, everybody in the chat and to the host. My name is Woman Sphere. I was previously known as Black Woman Sphere. I am now the Woman Sphere podcast, and I also do commentary on Black men and Black women and our relationships, also interracial relationships, as well as spiritual content on the essence of Black men and why they are at such ashtrays that we need to have these long-winded conversations about. So yeah, that's what my channel is about.
All right. And I am your host, Tanya TKO. I am a self love specialist. And on my channel, we typically use viral videos as examples for what we can see in our own lives and changes that we need to make for what self love looks like or what self-abuse looks like. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. We're going to jump into the apples real quick, read some of the apples, and then we're going to jump back into this broadcast because he's about to say something that I wanted to speak on last night, which I did not because I was so stupefied by the conversation. It was really a lot. So, oh, it's playing the little thing. I didn't expect for that to show. All right, so here go the apples. Thank you all so much for sending apples during the broadcast. The link to the Cash App is in the description, and I am going to be reading them on air. So the first one up is Mo Weapfa, who sends $5 and says, "Bless you for having that interview with Sin and PP. Thank you so much for being there last night. That was amazing." Angela sends $5 and says, "The show last night, you served us, sis." Thank you. I appreciate that. And Steve sends $50. Thank you, Steve. And he says, "Hi." He says, "Hi, Tanya. Hi, Cynthia G. Hi. Welcome, welcome, welcome." And Makiba sends $10 and says, "That's how men think. It's real." Oh, look, he's speaking about how he thinks, and I think that it's very prevalent in parts of society. Ashley sends $2 and says, "To me, he seems he was initially trolling, but..." Oh my Lord. She says, "After speaking to you, he wanted to change it up." Oh, you think so? That's interesting. So you think he was trolling on Clubhouse and then he tried to change it up and make himself seem a little different? Uche sends $5 and says he's constantly contradicting himself. He did contradict himself a lot. And he's actually about to say something which isn't true. And I'm glad that we are breaking this down. Katina sends $7 and says, "Isn't this reminiscent of the Tignon law or the Tignon law?" I don't know what law that is. Ladies, do any of you know what law that is? No?
No.
All right. Well, we'll have to look that up. I'm curious
Is
myself.
that the one relating to Black women's hair?
Oh, maybe.
I thought that might have been.
Maybe.
Where Black women have to cover their hair. I think it is.
Yes, it is. It is. It's and then I think it started like in Louisiana, New Orleans, or something like that. Where because of the ornate, intricate hairstyles that Black women wore, and everyone was attracted to them, and white men as well. White women were actually covering their hair and stuff like that at the point, I think, back during that time as some sort of with the bonnets. And so Black women were wearing their ornate hairstyles, and they actually made them cover their hair because I think during that time, women who covered their head were considered like dignified, ladylike, or something like that. So Black women used their hair as their decor and as a part of their embellishment. And it was so beautiful that they had to censor it and cover it up.
And then it didn't work because Black women then started wearing elaborate head wraps. So, I mean, it's like, you can't stop us from our creativity. You just can't. All right, let's jump back into the rest of this.
Has always been.
Exactly. All right, let's jump in. One up for the team. So what did you mean by that? A Black man being with a white woman is kind of a one up. What does that mean?
I hate to keep going back to slavery and things like that, but it lasted over centuries. So when we look at a Black woman with a white man, or a Black man with a white woman, in your case, you're saying specifically for me, a Black man with a white woman, it was one up for the team. He's the head of that household, and the woman in that household is white, so he's over that white woman.
Right. So
through ideology,
how does
through a lot of things.
Yeah. So how does that elevate the team? That's what I want to understand.
It really is. It's kind of petty, but it seems like it's a tit for tat thing. And it's just, I think it comes from traumatization. There's really no game to be played here. It's not a game at all. You know, people can be with who they want to be with, but when you see things like that, and yes, we might need to get out of this mindset, but for the protection of what is Black, I would say no. So in my mind, that would be one up for the team, because if that man is the head of the household, then he's going to be over that white woman, and that ideology of white is not going to survive, but a little bit.
Ladies,
Can we pause, because this is the part that I wanted to ask him about, because this is 100% untrue. And that's why I say, Black men, they have this fantasy in their mindset. When it comes to interracial relationship, what they're saying doesn't represent reality. So we can assume that he thinks that he's one-upping white men by doing what white men gave them permission to do. But I want to talk about the whole oh my God, I can't speak.
Preservation.
The preservation of Blackness. Even with a man like him, we can use him for example, how he puts whiteness on a pedestal. Look at the way that he glorifies whiteness. It's transcendental. It elevates the Black man. If a Black man goes into a relationship with that mentality where he obviously thinks a white woman is better than him, it is not possible for there to be any preservance of Blackness, because you're putting whiteness as the means by which you're elevating. So you're not preserving Blackness. Black men actually take on the mentalities and the ideologies of white women when they go into those homes. White women are dominating. And we know this. We know this because look, what did Kanye West say? When Kanye West separated from Kim Kardashian, he said that he felt like he was in a prison. So if he's in a prison and the only other adult that's in the home, then Kim Kardashian would have to be the prison warden. So what did Kanye West do when he got with Kim Kardashian? Did he preserve Blackness, or did he turn into basically a white man dipped in chocolate?
And that can actually be seen just from how their relationship dynamics played out. And I think we've talked about this before, Sin. When we look at how he came in, what his net worth was when he came into the relationship, right? And what her net worth was. So he was the higher earner when he came in. So he came in and lost assets, lost popularity, lost social status, right? She came in and overshadowed him socially in dominance and, gained a lot of assets from him. And now she's so far above him as far as, within the social hierarchy in, within, the celebrity life or when it's just, pardon?
No, I'm getting ready to try to look that up. Sorry, I clicked play by mistake.
Oh, no. Yeah. So he did stuff like build a huge compound on her land. So essentially that was a lost asset. And she blew up monetarily as a result of their relationship. And now, again, this is the increase of wealth on their side. But what I'm talking about now is the social dominance, because she socially dominated him. She became more important than him, and he became less important than her.
Kanye, sorry, I'm about to lose my train of thought, so I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry about that, but I just remember, do you guys remember when that interview came out and Kanye West said he didn't even want his children to say that they were Black?
No.
He said,
yes. Yeah,
Kanye West didn't even want his children to say that they were Black. So how are you preserving Blackness, but you don't even want your offspring to identify as Black? What did that other dude say? Tay Diggs. Yep. Was Tay Diggs preserving Blackness in that situation, or was he upholding white supremacy?
Yeah. Well, you know what? To answer the question, this is really profound, because if you worship whiteness and if you feel that this woman elevates you by being white and being in relationship with her and her proximity to white men and white men's power, then how are you protecting Blackness in a situation where you're already going in feeling inferior? So that actually makes a lot of sense. I'm looking And I don't see the net worth that Kanye had when he got into the relationship, but he'd become broke for a little while, but then he became a billionaire, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. But the increase was because I'm talking about her increase financially and his social decline. Because when we're talking about when it appears that this Naker that you were talking to, I can't even think of his name, Julia, when they were talking, when you guys were
You know
talking
you're
about
wrong
how
for
they
that,
elevate.
Nylah.
Oh yeah, that's horrible. But anyway, the social dominance. Because and that I think that needs to be highlighted, because even if the white woman does not have as much money as the man, even if she's the lesser on the totem pole, when they get together, because the society is dominated by them, she becomes more important all the time. Because you think about it, when these men have kids with them, what do they say? They say that their kids are not black. They say they actually lessen their own value in order to fit in with these women, and these women end up socially dominating them every time. I'm not talking about the money. I'm talking about social dominance right now.
Okay, Mike, I'm a little bit confused because when a white woman gets with a black man, doesn't her social cred go down? Isn't she looked
Her
at as less?
value,
Her
her
yeah,
value and her desirability to white men as a mate goes down. And
right.
there have been many things said about Kim Kardashian, negative things said about Kim Kardashian. If you know, there aren't any, like, when's the last time you guys seen a white man publicly express any desire for any of the Kardashians? Like, for years we never heard of any white man desiring any of the Kardashians until what was his name? Was it Travis Barker that got with Courtney, who hasn't been with a black man at all? She's the only one who haven't.
Yes.
So there haven't been any of them who really expressed any desire for any of the Kardashians who have been with black men. The only one was Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
So hold on.
Courtney will maintain her value to white men. Kim and them will not. They will never ever be seen as viable mates for high value white men. They're not going to raise those mixed children.
Okay. Yeah, this is so interesting. I'm just trying to understand, and please jump in and help me understand. It has been said that white women decrease in value when they get with black men. However, black men with money get with white women, and then the white women are able to elevate off of the black man's money.
Mm-hmm.
They elevate
off of the money.
But she's elevating her income and her popularity, not her social value.
Right.
And the Kardashians are very popular in the black community. They're very popular in the black community.
Is of value. It is of value to white women to get with black men. So black men do have value for white women. They raise white women's social cred and status.
Well, I think the black community, though. But there's a difference of. Sorry, Irene. I'm gonna. They increase. It's only though to the black community,
right?
Though, because you have to look at how does the white community speak about the Kardashians. You either don't hear them speaking at all, which could be them being on code. But what you never hear them talk about is how desirable the Kardashians are. Even when the Kardashians is talking about how many men come at them, none of them are white. None of them are white. So she may be getting popularity and income, which that's actually in accordance to studies in data that's tracked by data. A white woman with a lower socioeconomic status, she will use her whiteness as social currency for black men so she can get a bag. But her desirability as a mate is severely declines when in terms of white men. Now, if she can be popular in the black community all she wants to. That's why they're marketing their stuff mostly to black people. That's where they have to be now. But in terms of her having value as a mate, please. Okay, I would be very surprised if a white man gets with Kim Kardashian.
Oh, go ahead, Irene. Go ahead.
I'm actually so glad that you asked that question, like pose that and challenge us with that, because I think this kind of goes into the high value man conversation, right? Mm-hmm. Do we equate an individual's value with the value of their money? Because if you can dispose of an individual and still have the benefit of their money, is the value in the money or is the value in the person? right? So I think in the same way that men erroneously attribute their individual value with the value of their money when they are disposable, but their money is desirable. I think that's the equivalent of kind of the conversation we're having now, which is while a white woman can find increased monetary value in attaching herself to the money of a man, regardless of color, her social status can demean while her monetary value increases. And so her monetary value increasing should not be convoluted with her social value increasing. And those are two different things. And I think we really need to, as people, separate these two things, because a person's monetary value, the value of money, is transferable and has value regardless of who it's passed to, but that value is limited. Donald Trump, President of the United States, found this out. He gained a lot of money. His father was a low grade, wealthy, quote unquote, person, but he had to open up his own country club because old money would not accept him no matter how much money he had. So money can elevate you to a point as money, but it cannot elevate you as a human being to a point, which is why so many Black people are confused when they get pulled over in their $200,000 car. You're still Black. The car is desirable. You and your Blackness is not desirable. And in the same way, a white woman that attaches herself to a Black man, the money is desirable. The influence in what you can buy is desirable, but your body, your person, you as a human lack value. And so I think sometimes we convolute the two. So I'm glad you brought that conversation to the table, because we really need to delineate between those two separate values and people thinking that they can raise their individual human value by access to money.
Okay, and there's a separate value for Black community versus the greater society. It's just like Cynthia said, Kim Kardashian and the Kardashian clan at large may be very valuable within Black circles. They may be appreciated or even celebrated, but within high earning, high echelons of the dominant culture, they're not.
Right. So I want to speak on two different points. But I'm gonna say my second point first, and then I want to come back to the first one. If the Black man is not desirable, his money is desirable, his body and his person, his skin color and his DNA is not, then why do white women get with Black men who have no money and then find out that they got the same Black man?
Because they're
not desirable in their own community.
Right.
That's a low grade Black woman thing, right?
It is.
Like when you are a lower income white woman, you women crave companionship. If your own men don't want you, and that's where we get the fat white woman with the Black man trope. It's that she's not valuable as a person in her own community, but her whiteness is valuable to Black men.
Yep.
Oh.
I've lived it. Quick story. I used to work as a waitress at Buffalo Wild Wings in my past life. And there were multiple overweight white women there. And I noticed that every single one of them dated Black men. And when they would talk about why, the number one thing that they would say is because white men don't want me. I'm too big. Black men love me. That's what they would say. You can go all over TikTok. I've done numerous videos on them. All of the white women are saying white men don't want me. That's what they're saying.
So you're saying that thin, attractive, desirable white women are not choosing Black men unless those Black men have something to exchange for her white social cred. So she comes in with her whiteness and he comes in with the money. And if he has enough money, he can get a thin, vibrant white woman who is interested in the money but not interested in him as a person, and that is
Yes,
more
But not
likely
and
the
maybe
different.
not
case.
desirable. Wait, maybe not desirable though, because one of the richest black men in the country married a Playboy bunny who showed her whole vag, right,
Yeah.
on a magazine cover. So maybe not desirable. And that's kind of the Donald Trump scenario too. He was rejected by upper crust white society. And look at who his most recent wife is, a woman who showed her whole naked body on a magazine spread. So they get the leftovers, right? So the woman presents more physically attractive. And isn't this ironic when men say that you can't just bring your physical attractive to the table in the black community? Because when it's white women, she can be the most degraded piece of meat on the planet. She can have spread eagle for the entire world, but her whiteness, right? And her not being the fat, ugly white woman, right? Will give her access to black wealth simply because of her whiteness. But in her own
Interesting.
community, she is trash in the same way that our president married a virtual physical whore, not a maybe not, having sex with people, but a whore and whoring out her physicality to people, her whole vagina. Sorry, Tonya. I apologize for that. Is it Tanya or Tonya? It's an O. I always want to say Tonya, even though everybody says Tanya, but I'm so tempted. But even though even though she whored out her whole, vag to the world, right? She was still chosen, and he might have been the president. Remember, he was rejected by upper crust white society. And that's who black men get when she's not ugly. So I would say she's skinny, like you said. I would say she's physically desirable, but is she socially desirable? Absolutely not. We know that upper crust whites pick a less attractive woman with a solid social upbringing over a Playboy model every day of the week.
Interesting. You know what?
And I
Thank you
mean, because
so much.
typically,
Thank you. Thank you for that. I want to address some people in the comments real quick, Nyla. I saw a comment that went by where someone was calling me simple and saying the questions I'm asking are simple, etc. Let me just say this, and if you do this in your personal life, please stop. Please stop. Let's create an environment for us not to shame people for learning. You know, Black people, we're so quick to want to pretend as if we know everything that we can't even have sincere conversations. And this is why last night's broadcast turned into such a boondoggle, because Julius refused to learn. He refused to learn. If you know how people are so excited to be with quote unquote virgins or whatnot because they were untouched, quote unquote untouched, right? Let me just present this to you out there. If you have the opportunity to teach somebody something that they did not know before, that's a great thing. Take honor in being a teacher. These women on the stage right now are teaching, and I am learning, and there are people in the audience who are learning too. And I am a self-love specialist. I am not a pathology of Black men's mindset and the mindset of white women and how they get with one another. I am not a specialist on that. If you want to talk to me about self-love or evolutionary psychology and mating and dating habits, of how we've evolved in mating and dating throughout the centuries, by all means, we can talk about that. But open up your hearts and your minds. This is why last night when Crystalline was on the panel attempting to shame Julius for not knowing something, I stopped it right there, because we want to foster the environment where we can have these conversations. And I promise you, with all that is good and fluffy with the clouds up in the air in God's green or God's blue sky out here today, I will start having block parties for people who try to shame those who are learning. And the person who said that is your one and only warning. Okay, let's continue forward. I appreciate you ladies so much for being here and having this dialogue, because I feel like this is a conversation that Black people need to have. I feel that we are at a stage of awakening. You know, Cynthia on her channel, because listen, and I'm going to say this. I love Cynthia's content. I came across Cynthia's content a few months ago, and when I started listening to it, there were certain things that came as aha moments to me for the things that I teach in the self-love realm, because it's as Black women, it's difficult to really foster a sense of self-love when you're in a Black male worshiping society and culture that by its very nature denigrates you as a woman. And so some of the things that just weren't gelling. So this is a conversation that you all should be happy to be party to, because it helps all of us be able to grow and learn and put the pieces together. Because right now, let me ask you all a question. Let's do a quick survey. If you are learning something and coming across ideologies and ideas that are giving you aha moments, and you're picking up things that you kind of had a feeling about, but you didn't really know how to sink your teeth into the full idea, go ahead and put up the number 5. I want to see whether or not there are people here that are open to learning and are actually finding lessons in what it is that we're saying, because we're doing a breakdown of a video that existed in its moment, but this is an important conversation. And I want to see, there's a little bit of a delay. So once the stuff starts coming in, I will, let's see. Here we go. All right, so the 5s are coming in. Listen, please, let's not start disparaging other content creators. All right, so you see all of these 5s that are coming up? This is important. We're doing important work today. So open up your hearts, open up your minds, and go grab your refill of popcorn, because we're getting ready to jump back into the video. Was there anybody else who had something to say as we lead back into the broadcast?
I think I wanted to have something to say. I think that it's important for people to understand that everybody comes from a different walk of life, so they're going to give a different perspective. So you shouldn't put the cart before the horse all the time and think that you can't learn anything from anybody, because you can learn something from anybody. So I think that was a good point that you just, a good moment of education for everybody, Tanya, that you just did.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
And I also want to say that at the end of the day, she is so on the level. And I mean, I just want to, I said this over in Nyla's, but this is the second time I've been able to publicly say this. When I was such a small creator, I probably didn't even have like a full 1,000 subscribers. And I was so moved by your content, and I came to you. She came over to my channel, far bigger than me. I think you had over 100,000 subscribers at the time, and came over to my channel and had a conversation with me, and was very tolerant of my questions that people thought were stupid, because our perspectives were so different. And when you ask questions, I personally thought you were doing it for not your benefit, but just the benefit of people listening, because sometimes we refuse to accept, kind of like Angela was saying, that we're all from different backgrounds, and what might seem obvious to you isn't obvious to the next person. I think when we tear a woman down who for years has stood on the side of women and has opened up her heart and herself to women, and not been about clout chasing, or not really cared about where we stood in our positioning, our public positioning, I just think that that's very petty. And I would encourage us to have just more respect for our host, because I know from personal experience that she's just a very genuine and good person, and that should not be lost in our disagreements.
Oh, thank you. That's so very sweet of you to say. Thank you. Thank you. Real quick. All right. Bennett had to go get sent to the block party. Listen, Bennett Barker, you're done. We are not attacking. Listen, you start posting up about content creators and start giving lowbrow insults and stuff like that, you're gone. It's dumb. All right. So let's jump back into this footage. The white is not going to survive.
The ideology of white will not survive, because the head of the household is Black. So when I see interracial relationships, I automatically say, hey, this white man can't handle that sister. He's going to be out of there tomorrow. It's okay. But they might stay together, and they might do the damn thing. but the end and outcome of that household will be a white ideology because of the head of the household is white.
Okay, so you're saying that being with a white woman in that, so a black man being with a white woman is the
Hmm.
elevation of the black man.
Of what it is to be black.
Explain, because I don't understand.
Like, let's say there's the white man doesn't want those kids speaking Ebonics. Everyone knows Ebonics is something that, something that black people are very proficient in, and to be honest, it's not nothing to be looked down upon, because it takes something to put those things together to make it sound like that and to make it even popular for people to say. So that idea, part of it being black, is gone now because that white man doesn't want his children speaking Ebonics.
All right, so we're going to stop right here
Girl,
because last night I wanted to jump in on this and speak on this
let me
because
mute it so you can, and then I'll go after you because I wanted to too. But I'll mute up.
culture is passed down by women. Women are the ones who teach language. You're more likely to have a child who's bilingual when the mother is the one who speaks another language, because the mothers are the ones who pass down traditions and cultures, language, and those sorts of things. And then also with a black man who does not want to be black but is using a white woman's whiteness as elevation for him, he wants to abscond the iterations of blackness. And we have heard it stated that black women who are in relationships with white men, that it's more likely in those unions that the culture will be preserved. Go ahead, Sin.
My thing is that he just summed up what it means to be black with Ebonics. I'm still stuck on that part. Because you would think, like, if you ask any group of people about preserving what it means to be themselves, I highly doubt they're going to refer only to a degraded form of the language that they were taught. But that kind of shows you that, number one, black men don't really drive the culture of the community. They have nothing to do with the establishment of what is black. And if they don't have anything to do with establishing what is black, then they couldn't possibly preserve it, because you don't even know what you're preserving. This man didn't even realize how much he diminishes the role of a black man by literally preserving what it means to be a black man by talking about Ebonics. So degeneracy, essentially. But what about him talking about the strength of a man? Just like the entire foundation of blackness to him was related to Ebonics. And I think that's really interesting in terms of a description of what it means to be black and a man.
Interesting. Nylah, Irene, Angela.
I have something to say about that. Okay, so Julius was a whole the Tyrone spirit was so deep in that guy. I just couldn't even it was really difficult for me to pay attention to him and watch him, because it was like I felt like he lacked even the intellect to even convey the ignorance that was spewing out of his mouth. Like, he couldn't even get the words out properly. Like, I felt like I was finishing his sentences because I already know the ashtray degeneracy and what they're going to say. I mean, we've heard it all before. At this time, they all sound the same. So I was just like, I feel like I want to finish his sentences because I already know what he's about to say. And I think it was just a embarrassment and a ploy. But I also think, I think also that the performative act that he was doing was not even, once I look back on it and I listen to it now, because I'm listening to it all the way through now. Now I see that I don't even think it was performative. I think it was a whole setup. I think everything he did was a setup. I think he knew exactly what he was doing from start to finish.
Oh,
I think he knew
please.
who everybody was. I think he knew.
What? You think so?
Yes, I do. I think he
You
knew
think
because
he's a mastermind, Irene? I'm sorry, Angela?
Yes. I mean, I think he's a typical diabolical black man. I mean, I think that He came in knowing exactly what was going on. He took the opportunity to do what he wanted to do with it. And now I believe I won't be surprised if we see a YouTube channel pop up with Julius in it, talking to men of the manosphere, crying and complaining about his experience, saying how he was sabotaged by Black women. Yeah, I think I can just almost predict what he's going to do. That was his way in. He's going to be crying somewhere in a minute. He's also on. He not only has the Tyrone spirit, where his degeneracy and his ashtray doo-wop boy nature probably permeates all the way back to his daddy. I also believe that he's on the spectrum. I believe he has the Tyrone spectrum too as well. I think he might be a little slow because he couldn't articulate for the life of him last night. He just couldn't. He couldn't answer questions. He didn't understand nothing Cynthia was saying. She was too short for him. She was too fast. He was stuttering. All he did was go back into his emotions. And we know when we see the degenerate ashtrays go back into their emotions and they start screaming and yelling all the time, they're on the spectrum. So that spectrum is the Tyrone spectrum. Nobody can, they need to just start diagnosing them and saying it's the Tyrone spectrum, because all of Black men have it. So, where do it comes from them? And they passing it down to their sons. That's what I think.
Okay. I didn't know there was a Tyrone spectrum, but thank you for introducing this idea. Thank you.
Angela, why don't you tell Tanya what the Tyrone spectrum is?
I think the Tyrone spectrum comes from mammies that raise their Black sons. And I think that they coddle them to an extreme point to where they don't know how to function in society. So we see them, most of the time they stutter, right? Did you listen to him last night? He was stuttering the whole conversation. And I noticed something about the ashtray degenerates, that they stutter all the time. They always stutter. They can't articulate. They can't even present themselves intellectually. And it's this, to me, the spectrum comes from the coddling. They haven't had to articulate themselves. They have not had to show up and show out. They have not had to be on time. They have not had to be responsible. So that mammy mama is what promotes and creates these ashtray degenerates with the Tyrone spectrum. It comes from the mammy, which are the descendants of Eve. We know the mammies are the descendants of Eve because I ain't no descendant of Eve.
You know something?
I'm the descendant of Lilith.
I'm not going to do this right now. Yeah. Nope, I'm not doing this. We're going back to the
video. Dying.
We're going back.
Angela just...
This is too much. And she's saying this with a straight voice. Like she is over here teaching about a true spectrum. This is too much. Okay. Let's jump back. Thank you so much for that rendition and breakdown, Angela. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. All the way to Eve, huh? All right, let's go.
Right now, his Black wife is subjected to that, even if she, same thing with a Mexican woman. That ideology is watered down now because she's with a white male.
Okay. So you're saying that the man is theoretically the head of the household and of the family. And so if a Black man
traditionally
so if a Black man gets with a white woman, then the white woman is under his household and thus submissive to him?
His ideology.
Submissive to the ideology. So you're saying
of
the
what
ideology
it is to be Black.
Of what his idea of what it is to be Black.
Yes, because he portrays that every day. This is a Black man, you know what I mean? Same as a white man. If he liked trucks, if the white man liked trucks and cowboy hats, his son will probably grow up liking trucks and cowboy hats, which is not a traditional Black thing.
Okay. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around so that I can understand how the Black man dating the white woman is an elevation when the white woman has more power in society than the Black man.
It's in society, but what happens to her power? I'm not questioning on your panel, Tanya, I swear.
No, I want to hear your thoughts.
What would you say what happens to her? Say again.
I said I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay. What would you say would happen to a traditional? What would you say would happen to a white woman in society if she was seen with a black man? Her power goes where in the sense of power.
Who's seeing her? I don't understand the
Society.
question.
Society as it is
Society?
today. She's seen with a black man. Her friends are like, Sarah, what are you doing, Sarah? You know, and now her kids in the neighborhood, they're not in her white neighborhood. The kids are, they're not all the way white kids. So what? Would they be discriminated against? Maybe if they are or whatever. But her power as a white woman, if she has any in a social economic or the social class, it would diminish because she's with a black man.
Oh, ladies.
Can we listen? He doesn't know the difference. And that's why I think Irene said it perfectly. We need to learn how to delineate from people increasing their socioeconomic status versus their social status. So what he doesn't get is the white woman's power come from her white. She is not going to lose that regardless to the race of the man. But her desirability will decline. But in reality, she still maintains the same type of power over him. Furthermore, black men, again, don't go in these situations where they're running households. You can listen to multiple black men, even on this platform, like Donovan Sugar Booty Sharp, for example. And there's a dude also named Awareness with Chris.
No, let's not name any of the names of the people that we don't want people to, don't advertise them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Well,
No, it's okay.
There's black men in this space who talk about how when they get with white women, in order to be with white women, they have to get rid of every semblance of blackness except their skin tone. They're not running anything. Like, he's delusional. And then the fact that he said just like white men tells you that one of the primary reasons that they are in those relationships to begin with is to try to find parity between himself and white men. He wants to basically be in a home and pretend that he's a white man with a white woman and some somewhat white kids. But to suggest that her power goes anywhere is just really foolish. If you look at the DV stats on interracial relationships, it is white women who are actually exerting even their physical power over black men, in that they initiate the altercations with black men in those homes. So this is just another example of black men being delusional and living in his fantasy. I really believe black men are more fantasy driven than anybody. And what is in black men's fantasy is the desire to pretend that he is a white man.
All right, let's jump back in. If there's anybody who has a new idea on this that they want to jump in and come now, but I really want to get through this video because we're really too early in. All right, let's go forward.
You see what I mean?
So you feel that her social power diminishes, so it's a one-up for the black man, but it's a deterioration for the black woman. I'm sorry, for the white woman.
I mean, let's point it out in all the successful black men in our community and in our race. They tend to marry white women.
Okay.
Is that a social push towards what being more acceptable socially? Does that make you more powerful socially? I mean, it's hard to talk about, but there's stigmas in both of those things.
Right. So let's go back to your earlier point. You said that she loses social power being with the black man, but the black man gains social power from being with her.
Yes. Because from his social stance, and his peers are gonna look at him like, yo, she got good credit, she white, she got that white privilege, you doing things, man, you got it. But from her stance, what are you doing with that black man? What is it? What are the type of things that she might hear? And to be honest, to me, that's just realistic in society, because don't nobody care about people's feelings and things like that when it's in the moment and you're right in front of somebody.
Okay. So let me understand this correctly. Let me just try to understand this, right?
Hmm.
So you're saying that when a black man has, you said that in our society, when black men have money, that by and large they get with white women, right?
Yes, I
And
believe that would be proven.
right, and in getting with white women, he is elevated because now he's with a white woman, and that white woman allegedly has good credit, and she has white privilege, and she has, what was the third thing?
No, I think that was the only two.
Okay,
I mean, it could be more.
so white privilege and good credit. So he has all of this money and he is elevated by her white privilege by being in proximity to her.
No, I'm not saying he elevated due to her white privilege. He wants to elevate more from her white privilege. You get the status. You can't. I mean, that's for his social class. I'm not trying to be around white billionaires and things like that. So, you know what I mean? That doesn't have no appeal to me. I don't want to appeal to them or anything like that. And I already have no problem with being with a sister. So you're not gonna see me with a white woman. But if that's that's his social class, which 9 times out of 10, having all that money and getting paid by these white folks, that's what it's gonna be. You see all of them getting these white women. Why? They got, it's something. I don't know. But it ain't nothing against nothing on my sisters though.
Right. No, I just want to understand the ideology because, all right.
So essentially, okay, so this Naker, women are not supposed to be hypergamous, but men are. That's essentially what he's saying. And again, that's putting him in a very feminine role because historically, right, and worldwide, and not just here, women are supposed to progress through marriage, benefit, be it social, financial. You're supposed to do better because of marriage. You're supposed to eat better. You're supposed to live, whatever. You're supposed to upgrade. So he is okay with black men becoming hypergamous and upgrading themselves through white women, but he has a problem with it when it comes to black women. This is exactly why black women need to take a note from this note only from Kim Kardashian, right? That is to execute perfect hypergamy. Each relationship she was in, she upgraded financially with the man. And take notes from black men. They are thinking of themselves. Now, when he said, you know, he's elevating, you know, his credit is going to get better because of hers and all this kind of stuff, just think about that. These men do not care about their community because even if, let's say, and this may sound a bit unscrupulous, but I do think with our social positioning, we may have to be crafty for the come up if he was using this to benefit the community on any level. I could almost be okay with it, but this is just selfishness or a man being hypergamous. This is actually quite embarrassing.
Sorry.
But the thing that I'm confused about, and listen, Julius, you're in the comments, so help me understand this. How is a man with money trading that in for her credit score? How is that? Because if he has money, then he has good credit too. No, I don't understand why he needs her for the boost in credit. And with the money, doesn't he have access to different circles, the circles that he wants to get in? Because this country values green once you get to the upper echelons, doesn't it? I'm so confused.
No, not if you don't want to pay off your debts. No, I'm so confused. I'm confused. Yeah, because with money, you can pay off your debts, but credit is something that is required. Okay, when you want to live above your means, credit is required. So if you have enough money, technically you could pay for things cash or pay off your debts, which would then result in actual credit. But I'm just dead. Nyla's
Yeah, but the
saying.
thing, the,
That's
the thing
women
that
are
the thing that's
practice
troubling me
hypergamy.
about this is how can you really be a responsible man with money with effed up credit? This sounds so hood. It sounds like a person who got two little coins that they're clinking together as some sort of mating call. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, everything is in shambles. Like in that movie where they went to North Korea and they had all of these different carts with the beautiful fruit, but then when the guys ran away from the hotel and went up to the fake store, it was cardboard people and plastic fruit. So it's like you come and you say, I think this is like what Irene was saying. You're calling yourself a high value man because you have a little bit of money, but things are all messed up in your life. You got bad credit, your feet smell.
I'm trying to figure out when white privilege became transferable to black men.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, when did black men start getting white privilege by proxy of white women?
Well,
And I wish I would have been able to ask him for an example of a black man who has gained white privilege by way of a white woman who he just admitted her power, which her white power actually doesn't diminish, but he in one verse said her power diminishes when she's with him, but yet her privilege transfers onto him. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because if
That's
she doesn't
true.
have that power, then how can she transfer privilege to you as the black man?
They're gonna sex their way to the top.
He's thinking about driving Miss Daisy and how Morgan Freeman could go everywhere that old white woman could go. I mean, that's got to be the white privilege. I get to go wherever Missy Ann is going. I get to drive her. Seriously, that doesn't that. But doesn't that make them sound even more weak and effeminate? This is why, like, listen. Half of these men are like, they are very, 50-50. I think that they just haven't like had gay consummations. But like, that is, you know what I mean? Like, these men are like.
But wait, marriages back in the days were often strategic, opening up networks and supply chains and avenues of trade and commerce. So maybe black men are kind of acting like their own what do you call that, arranged marriage kind of thing, where you meet a person and he's like, oh well, you have white privilege, I have money, help me get into these circles so I can network and become a billionaire. No?
In order for white women to be able to transfer white privilege to black men, that would mean she would have to have more power than white men. But because she doesn't, there's no possible way that, number one, a white woman could elevate a black man, and number two, she couldn't transfer any privilege, because who's the administrator of white privilege?
Well, can I just say this? I think that I think that Fanon put it best in defense of black men when he said, who can do it, right? If not a white woman. In loving me, she proves I am worthy of white love.
Ew.
I am loved as a white man. I am a white man. Some black men, I'm not trying to be funny here, because a renowned, right, political thinker, socio-political thinker said this, that no one can do this for a black man but a white woman. That when a white woman, and this is kind of, we haven't got there yet, but this is what he was saying later, when a white woman makes the choice to love a black man, he is loved in the same way as a white man, which by proxy makes him a white man, which by proxy makes him the illustrator of control. He's able to bypass actual combat and actual conflict with white men through the vagina. Can I say vagina? I apologize. Through the vag of a white woman. A lot of Black men think this, and Fannin put it on the table. And y'all, you can't argue with somebody who made his whole bread and butter off of analyzing this life. And this man seems to think the same thing. And we just have to accept that some Black men actually believe this, that the love of a white woman essentially makes them equivalent to white men. It's bizarre, it's twisted, it's unhealthy, it's backward, it's a lie, but some of them truly believe it in their spirits.
My God. My God. Okay, let's go forward. This is unbelievable. That makes me feel sad and nauseous at this. I want to cry and vomit.
Okay.
We appreciate you being so honest, because I've not heard this before, and there was some guy who said that you're speaking the truth. So definitely I want to expound some more and understand. So for those of you who are just coming in, we are on the line right now with Julius, and Julius, fast forward a little bit, the elevation of the Black man through the white woman.
With within their social class.
So give me examples of how the Black man is elevated, though. I'd love to hear that.
Okay. I'm not even gonna pay attention to comments. To be honest, let's say you're a successful basketball player and you're going to parties where it's majority white folks. Now, I'm not saying this is true, but let's say they get in there and they're going out to these parties. Would you say he would look more appealing to white people with a white woman on his arm or a Black woman on his arm? Because to me, in my mind, I would say that's a little bit scary. Who these N-words think they are, coming in here with their family, trying to have a good time, to be more social acceptable, to stop all the questions and all this. I'm gonna go get me a white girl. There is no question on who I'm loyal to. We look at Robert De Niro different. We look at Idris Elba different. Okay, why is there a note to point these people out? Idris Elba married a what?
Can I say something really quickly? Because I didn't hear him the first time say, just like he just said that it shows who the Black man is loyal to. There's no question about who he's loyal to. So ultimately, then is he trying to prove his loyalty to white men by having a white woman? I don't know if you guys
he's saying he's loyal
to.
He's saying he's elevating. He's saying that he's going to be more acceptable to white men if he's in there with a white woman rather than coming in with a Black woman. So he's able to get into those circles, but he's still loyal to the Black woman. It just doesn't make any sense. He's loyal by being with another woman. In his heart, he's loyal, but in his mind and psychology, he feels this way.
Did Idris Elba marry a Black woman or a white woman?
You don't know, but you're mentioning him?
No, I know. I believe it was a Black woman. I believe he's with a Black woman.
He's with a woman that is from East Africa, so she has the phenotype.
And Robert De Niro married a white woman.
Excuse me?
Robert De Niro married a Black woman, correct?
Oh, okay, I thought you just said he married a white woman, but go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm dyslexic a little bit. He married a Black woman. People look at those two. They're both actors. They look at them differently. They note that they married opposite of their race. That right there, that little bit of where people's minds direct to that attention is exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm confused. You need to listen. I'm very literal, so I need you. I don't pick up on inference, so I need you to be very specific with me. How do they look at Idris Elba differently than Robert De Niro?
They look at Idris Elba like, hey, he married his sister. Right on. They look at Robert De Niro. He married his sister. Right on. These are black males. These are black men. You know what I mean? That's the team. That's the war that I'm talking about. That's the one up for the team right there.
What one up for
Because
what
we
team
know
you talk?
that the end outcome to these relationships is a black child. Okay. And I don't like that Robert De Niro married that black woman. Okay. But somehow
I need a break. Somebody say something right now.
But how is that? How would that be an indication of them treating them different, though?
This is the thing. That was the point he was trying to prove. But then he said that they saying right on, right on.
But it's almost like maybe black people do need some sort of leaders at the end of the block or something in their individual communities, because how don't you understand natural male instincts? And you don't have to be a man to study manhood and their behavior and to know, what their instincts are like. Idris Elba having a black wife is more threatening to a group of white men that are looking at it from the perspective that he is saying than a black man with a white wife. How does he not understand that? How does he not understand that taking the stance amongst peers that are quote unquote high value or whatever, that you are going to be where you are and have what you have alongside a white woman is a more dominant stance, a more stronger stance and assertive stance than you being with a white woman? How come he doesn't understand the way that looks to men? Because the way that looks to the white men or men that have, natural common masculine instincts is that you acquiesce to them, that you've submitted to their supremacy. And so you went and got one of their women, right? That's what it would look like.
I think, and I don't want to speak for him. I was trying to let him speak for himself, but he didn't really make the point. But I think he was saying that black men are more palatable to white circles when they have a white woman, and the reason may be because they seem more docile. They've been dominated. You don't have to worry about black power. You don't have to worry about.
They don't have the same dynamic. Because they don't have the same dynamic. When a white man is with a black woman, it symbolizes their dominance over black men because of their positioning in society. Because black men don't have the same positioning in society. They're literally war booty just like women. So that I don't understand why he would even, you know what I'm saying? Why do they think that? Because that you can't equal up to a white man in society with his woman, because you haven't, number one, you're not going to get his top shelf anyway.
Because black men seem to think that white men think the same way that they do. And you can tell that based on this dude, because one thing that he's conflating is, when he talked about the social elevation, he referred to how other black men in the black community congratulate black men on their ability to get a white woman, which that part is 100% true. But what he did not say, and he never does, he doesn't really describe what it is that white men see in black men once he gets with a white woman versus when he's with a black woman. What is the difference that he thinks about them? And what he doesn't understand is that it's the reverse of what he thinks. What white men think is what Nylah said. He's more docile. He's more submissive. He's not culturally rooted. He doesn't have pride in himself. He's disloyal. He's submitted to white ideology, white beauty standard, and white dominance. That is what white men think of black men. I've even seen this on display in real life. I've seen the difference between how white men treat black men when they appear with a white woman versus with a black woman, and the respect level declines. So black men may interpret it as, oh, he's more accepting of me, which to a degree, he may be accepting you in that space because you're not a threat. But what does he think about you? Does he respect you? Does he really accept you as an equal peer? Absolutely not. Black men are actually taking their symbol of their old historic unaddressed treasonous behavior. That's essentially what the white woman symbolizes. I have fully submitted and succumbed to white male dominance. But that black man was too dumb to really even understand that.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's jump back in.
He gets points for that. in the black community somehow.
Is
LeBron
okay.
James marrying within his race and being so successful that he is. I'm telling you, some black people looked at that as a surprise. Okay.
All right. So, however, you started out saying if a black man walks into a party with a white woman versus walking into the party with a black woman, that the sentiment towards him is different, that he's less feared when he's with a white woman, and he's more feared when
Yes.
he's with a black woman. Help us
Yes.
understand. Help us understand.
It's the black family. I mean, it's been getting attacked, and it's continuously getting attacked and separated. And honestly, I think that society doesn't want to see the black family together. So when I start seeing these push for interracial relationships and it's okay, I have to think like, yo, what about we didn't even fix this yet? We in shambles over here. That's the struggle I'm speaking of.
Right, but see okay, so I don't think he's gonna get it. This is the thing that's a little bit confusing for me, and I'm trying to ask you questions so that you will. Let's go forward. Parties not getting the Delo. Okay, let's go back to better parties and have more access. Privilege by proxy, but the black woman being in the white man's household is not an elevation for the black woman because she's not able to get the white privilege by proxy.
Not at all. Maybe a little bit.
How?
But the thing is, well, we got to think about like in social class, the parties that he will be going to. If he's a successful black man, he's not going to no house party or something like that. You know what I mean? He's going to be around other reputable people, and as we know, in this society, they're mainly white.
Okay.
He's so ignorant. Can I just
So
interject?
if he knows that and he's been subjected to that, getting to the level that he's at, he's going to go ahead and get him a white woman.
So that he can be invited to better parties and have more access through the white woman.
Through the white woman, absolutely.
But the black woman being with the most powerful man in society is not being invited to these parties, not getting the Deloitte and Touche sponsorships for her business, and she's not getting that.
The society, she's a bed wench. And you can thank Olivia Pope for that. All
right, it's about to go. It's about to go downhill right now. Okay, go ahead, ladies. Go ahead. Look at my face.
What man wants to appear? What masculine man wants to appear less threatening to men that are their social and economic dominance? Why would he want to appear like that? Like, how do you say, yeah, I want to be a bitch? Why is he saying? Because that's essentially what he's saying. I don't want you to be threatened by me. A friend here, don't be threatened by me. Don't let my blackness. That is just absolutely crazy. And the Olivia Pope analogy, clearly, even calling Olivia Pope a bedwench, that has got to be some Naker's logic. Because and this is the thing, why can't they ever point to real life? Why is everything about...
Wait, who's Olivia Pope?
From Scandal. Mm-hmm. The character from Scandal.
A character. Okay.
Right. A woman who, she's a character, and she was basically a public relations person on steroids. Like, she fixed any crazy scenario that celebrities and politicians would get into. And she had the ear and the bed from time to time of the president of the United States and access to nearly anything that you can think of, high level, different types of CIA organizations and stuff like that. So it just, even describing her character on the show, her access to whiteness got her where? She was at the top of her game. Okay, she had access to things that most white males did not even have access to. So that was really a poor example. This just shows you that they're envious about the women having sex with the men and being with the men, and the fact that it is the only time that they are reminded of their subjugation is when they see that Black woman with that white man.
Oh, yeah. Irene, jump in. You had something to say.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is ridiculous to me. Kind of what Nylah was saying, which is because the world is run by men. Whether as women we approve or disapprove of that, we cannot deny that the planet is dominated by men. And when women pick powerful men, by proxy, they get access to that power. They just do. That's why our president was able to bring a whore into office as his wife, and people respected her despite her own whoredom. Like that's base level knowledge of male female interactions. But the same does not work in the adverse, right? It only works in the adverse when there's acceptance of white men. And even this idea that you can marry into a family and then gain loyalty, this is a white European concept. In Europe, the royalty and the elite would marry their daughters to build alliances. But it was a well-known fact that it wasn't enough to ensure that you would not be attacked by the opposite sect. Now, how do you take a European ideology, which has been proven flawed? Like, people did it, but they knew that there was no guarantee just because you married somebody's daughter or niece that they weren't going to attack your country. How do you take a fully European ideology, try to transplant that into modern day America on a lower socioeconomic scale, not even a national, sort of countrywide scale, but you want to lower that down to a socioeconomic scale and expect it to work? But what we do know is that every time a woman marries into a prominent household, she gains the prominence and respect of that household unequivocally. And so I just think like the delusion is real, and this whole Olivia chick that he's referring to, a make-believe character, on a television or, a movie or wherever she's from, to use a make-believe character when he could have reached into real historical reference and prove that he doesn't know what he's talking about, that women are elevated by marriage, but men have no guarantees when they marry because women have a lower social status on the whole than men. And I'm not saying I approve of this or disapprove. It's just the reality. He's just the delusion of it all, which is why, and I think you guys were talking about that the other night, which is why when a Black man petitioned shortly after slavery, not even 20 years after slavery, to have access to a white woman in
so
a
you know
legal
what?
way, he was
Let's
shot
talk about
down.
that when it comes up in the video, because I really want us to keep moving
I'm so
forward.
sorry.
But yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Can I just make a quick point here?
Yeah.
I think that this part right here illustrates the myopic thinking capacity of Black men, because what he's essentially doing is that he's projecting how he views and how Black men view white men with Black women onto overall white society. And he's also projecting how he and other Black men view Black men with white women. So because Black men view being with white women as a social elevation and a social status, he therefore thinks that it elevates Black men to white men when it really doesn't, because Black men can only think about how they think. They can't really go beyond their own thought process to try and put themselves in another man's mindset. Now he's trying to attempt to here, but he's not capable of doing it. So all he's really doing is saying, because we as Black men don't like seeing Black women with white men, then therefore we believe that overall society sees the white man's value and power as declining when he's with a Black woman. And because we see being with a white woman as a social upgrade, then he thinks that white men see it the same way too, and they really don't. Black men just have remedial thought processes. It's really just that simple. He's delusional.
Okay, let's go forward. Excuse me?
The fucking TV show. You can thank Olivia Pope for that. To society, she laying with a Black woman she's a bed wench. You can thank Olivia Pope for that, and you can thank Halle Berry and Monsters Ball for that, because of their depictions of these characters. Their depictions of these characters that they played, sleeping around with white men.
So what depiction do you feel that Olivia Pope was powerful. She was wealthy. She ran her own business and she was a boss.
But she was not the first lady. She wasn't the
she
first lady.
she could have been if she wanted to,
Point
but
and period.
she didn't feel that first lady was high enough for her. Did you watch the show?
No, I didn't watch the show because I couldn't deal with it
Okay.
once I found out she was sleeping with a white man. But the thing
He
is,
was the
she could. I
president
promise
of the
she
United
probably couldn't be, and
States.
if she wanted to be, he wouldn't have picked her. What I'm speaking towards Tanya is he
He
wouldn't have picked her to be
he
the first lady because the white man is primarily loyal to marrying his race. The black man, a successful black man, is primarily loyal to marrying a white woman, and it is facts, and it can be proven by the many successful black men that you see with white women married today. She couldn't be the first lady because he wouldn't have chose her
He
to be
chose
the
her
first
in the
lady because it's
series. He
not
left his
popular.
wife. He was in love with Olivia. I don't think that. See, the thing is, I think that you're projecting some of your own point of view onto the scenario and the situation. Because do you know what the data says? The data
What does
shows
the data say?
the data shows that when black men marry white women, that the black men marry women who have less money. So it's not like these
It's
white
not about the
women.
money.
What is it about?
It's not about the money.
What is it
It's
about?
when marrying a woman, it's not about the woman's money. She can have all the
Right,
money in the world unless she's
right,
Oprah, and then I might be marrying for that bag. But
right. But
it's not when I think in a white woman. It's not. I'm
how
sorry.
is he going to get to the yachts and the parties and the elevation when she is not the one inviting him to those things? How is he going to get there?
It's the white. It just looks better with the white woman on his arm.
Oh shit! Ladies, look at my face. Ladies, come forward, please. What is going on here?
I think that's what they always have thought. I mean, that was something I heard him say yesterday. I did hear him say that yesterday, and I did hear him. And if you talk to black men about interracial dating, they will always pull back when you ask them what they think about black men dating white women. You will start, the Tyrone spectrum will kick in every time, and they'll start stuttering about it and saying, well, it's a little different if it's do. They'll start doing all of that. So I noticed that he didn't have really any historical value on really what it meant to date outside of your race and how it's progressed and why people date outside of their race and the actual emotional and mental reasons behind why black women have just decided to start dating out of their race, because historically black men have been the ones to date outside of their race the most when it comes to black people. So I find that they make excuses for black men that date white women. And I think it has something to do with the white man's ice just being colder. You know what I mean? As far as when it comes to his position in society, what he's fought to maintain. I think they have a very difficult time with acknowledging the fact that they were unwilling to fight. And so that's why I don't like to speak about slavery. I don't like to talk about that. I believe that gives them a pass when we start saying, well, the white man was doing this and slavery and all of that stuff. It's just like we was in slavery with you, bruh. We was there right there with you. So you cannot use that as an excuse, especially when black women are the most educated person walking the earth right now. So clearly we've overcome our obstacles. Now is the time for you to do that. But black women use that as a pass for them to explain away everything that they do. When we go into spiritual context, we know that Adam wasn't worth a hill of beans. So, and he was the first black man, the very first. So if we want to go all the way back and realize it's a spiritual thing, it really has nothing to do with slavery. It has nothing to do with white men. They were defeated by white men because they weren't strong enough spiritually. Because who the heck is going to come let somebody remove them from their home willingly? Willingly. I mean, it's really just, I hate when people like to go with statistics and facts when all you got to use is common sense. Common sense. Is anybody going to be able to remove you from your home right now and take you from your woman and children?
I mean, what if they were promising jobs overseas? Internships.
Yep, people can do it.
No, they knew what, so they still, even if they still didn't have enough common sense to see through the play, they've been getting bamboozled and hoodwinked and outsmarted by white men forever. Like, when are we going to continuously make excuses for the fact that they just ain't smart enough?
They're not. They're not smart enough, and that's why I say they're not smart, and they don't know white men's mentality. Like white men knows theirs. White men know how black men think, what matters to black men, what values black men have, like the back of his hand. He studied black male pathology. And black men have failed to do the same thing for white men because they're too busy trying to be like them, get their acceptance, and get them to like them. So that's the defining difference. And I agree with you, Angela. They're just not smart. And if they were smart, they wouldn't have been dominated for this long. By literally, black men have been dominated by every group of people. And those people are the ones that he created out of his own self-hatred. That's the irony of it.
That's really sad. That's real sad. You know,
I know that's harsh. I'm not to cut you off.
I have to say this because I went to the ports in Nigeria where they trafficked human beings, and at the ports they had. So when I made the joke about being told that they may have had jobs overseas, they knew that they were not taking the people to jobs overseas because even on the land in Africa, they had. You know how they put that ring through the cow's nose? They had that pierced through the lips of black people, bleeding and walking in the sun and barefoot and naked and being treated very poorly even before they left the land. So they knew that the people were going into turmoil. And it's just very it's difficult to just even contemplate how did we get here where it is that we are.
Can I say something?
Yeah, say something.
I think we got here because they just aren't smart enough. It ain't no way that they weren't able. Okay, so black women are very spiritually rooted, right? We already know that. We have a very strong intuitive nature and we're very intentional in everything that we do. We're able to read a room. We know how to move in a room full of no's. Black men don't know how to move in a room full of no's. They just get told no and they walk away. When we walk into a room full of no's, we find a yes. We find a way to make it work for us. They don't know how to do that. And they have not known how to do that since the very first black man, which was Adam, which is why he couldn't deal with Lilith. Lilith wasn't going for him because he was too weak. So she took wings literally and flew away. She took spiritual wings and flew away. She grew wings out of her back and flew away. Black women have been flying away since the beginning of time. Eve really wasn't nothing but second best. She was the weak vessel. She was the mammy. That's why I say it's descendants of Eve. Because black women are flying away at this rate right now, which is why we're the most educated person. We overcome obstacles. We're resilient. We're strong. We're independent. And who tells us it's something wrong with being strong and independent? Black men tell us that. It's something wrong. Only black women walk around saying they're a strong, independent woman. I wonder why we walk around saying that. Why do we walk around saying that? Because you've been weak since Adam. Adam was snitching on Lilith to God. He told on Lilith. Lilith called God by name, took wings, flew off, sent 3 angels to go and find her. When they went and found her, she was bearing children. What do black men they degrade us the most for being mothers and having children? This is really just not. All you got to do is do the spiritual work and you will figure out it ain't got nothing to do with slavery. It ain't got nothing to do with generational curses. They've been weak since day one. The very first one.
I agree.
I'll say that. Go ahead.
I just want to chime in really quickly. I actually agree. And I think one of black men's biggest downfalls that they're still engaging in is really not recognizing that Black women are significantly smarter than they are. And, I think that in this situation, you can say that the Black man may be physically stronger and men may be physically stronger than women, but they're not intellectually smarter than women. And you can already see that white men listen to their women and the opinions and the wants and the needs of their women significantly more than Black women do. It is England over
Black
there
men.
who have the white women ruling. Yeah, than Black men do. It is England over there who have the woman in power. Black men don't believe that women should have an opinion. They don't believe that women should have power, although it is Black women who have made all of the changes in this country. Black men have simply submitted to the will of white men. Even when they talk about the wars that they fought in, you weren't fighting in those to liberate yourself. You were fighting in those because white men made you. Furthermore, remember that James Earl Jones video that you were just reviewing, Tanya? What did James Earl Jones say? Black women are too militant in their identity as a Black woman. And that is why Black women have been angry and have been fighting and have been pushing back, and Black men haven't. Black men are too stupid to listen to their brain, which is Black women. That's why they keep losing.
Well, I want to say this. I really want to keep religion out of this, but I'm going to throw this out there. I am a child of Eve, but removing religion from the conversation and really discussing about culture, it is not Black people traditionally who have embraced the degrading of women. This idea of degrading women is a very European concept. The height of European culture, which is Greco-Roman culture, which is idolized by Europeans, the heart of that culture was the degrading of women. In Africa, the various African cultures, because there is more than one culture, throughout the Middle East and Africa. And I want to really stress that those borders are very blurred because Europeans rewrote those borders. But much of what we consider the Middle East now was originally part of Africa. And there were whole nations. When we think about the Queen of Sheba and her ruins were just found that spread into the Middle East, the role of the woman was always valued. It was never considered the same as a man's role, but it was always considered a valuable role. When we look at African artifacts from around the continent, what we see depicted are the female forms, especially women who are pregnant. So women have always been valued in Black culture. The degrading of women is a very European concept. They had whole societies that revolved around men's access to boys, children, men's access to each other, and the degradation of women's position in society, and the murder of the children that came from the wombs of women. That complete removal of all rights of women was something that was heavily prevalent in the societies that Europeans hold as the pinnacle of what they are. So I just think it's very dangerous for us to superimpose European ideology and say that starts with Blackness. If Black men are guilty of anything, it is of embracing these European ideologies as their own and thinking that they can remake the European wheel, which we watch their societies fall instead of staying true to our own ideologies from the Africas and the Middle East, which are the elevation of the uniqueness and value of the womb, but not to the detriment of the place that men play in society. The idea that we have to have one or the other, or that leadership cannot look two ways and that we each have unique roles, I think is dangerous. But I do want to say I want to fall back on the religious aspect of this because I think that is a totally separate conversation. But I want to go on the record as saying, like, I might be, as a Christian, I am a daughter of Eve. I don't see weakness in it necessarily, but I do see weakness in us embracing European ideologies that are wicked and hateful toward women, embracing those and saying that they are our own. We need to call them out.
Can I say something before I lose my train of thought? I just want to say this. Okay, so, and I'm not gonna bring, because I know people get sensitive when it comes to religion. This is the thing. This isn't even about religion. This is just about the truth, and the truth is just the truth. It is what it is. Lilith was written out of the Bible, y'all. So that's why y'all don't know who she is, and that's why Irene doesn't adhere to her, because she's an Orthodox Christian, and most Orthodox Christians don't even address all the women that were written out of the book of the Bible. The book of Enoch was about powerful women, and they were written out as well. So that's why y'all don't know who Lilith is, because she was written out of the Bible. She was Adam's first wife. I can leave several links on my channel for y'all, or I can send them to Tanya, and maybe we can have a conversation about Lilith in a different time, because we do need to go over this video. But she was written out of the Bible. This is why y'all don't know who she is. This is why.
Yeah, but Greco-Roman
You know what? Hold on. Let me jump in right here. Let me
ahead.
jump in right here, ladies, because you both make wonderful points. And I want to say this. I want to ask you all how you're feeling on the panel. I want to reset the broadcast, and I also want us to think about what does this idea sound like to you all? Making this into a 3-part weekend series where we do part 1 today, part 2 tomorrow, part 3 on Sunday, because I'm going to be honest with you all, we are only 40 minutes in to this broadcast, and we have a lot more to go through. So, and then people in the audience, if you all are okay with making this a 3-part series, go ahead and put up a number 3. If you're not okay with that and you want to do it all today, put up a number 0. Let's see. All right. So, ladies, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a lot to digest. Yeah, I mean, we could make it parts. I don't care. However you want to do it.
Yeah, I agree with Angela. Whatever you think is best, I think is fine with me.
Yeah. Okay. Other ladies, Nylah and Cynthia, are you all free this weekend to do the 3-part series? Because I think that this is because I'm going to be really, okay, so the votes are coming in. It looks like there's some zeros in there, but it looks like most people want the 3-part series, and I'm going to tell you why. And I know we're going to get some drop off, right? But we'll also get some gains of people who want to come back the next day who missed this one but want to participate in the next conversation. The reason why I say this is because this conversation is so good, and I noticed that there were some times that I rushed you all through your thoughts, and I was like, let's jump back into the video. But the things that we're talking about are so important and so poignant that I think it's important for us to really take our time, because this pathology is so widespread and prevalent in our community that I think I think the people deserve to hear our full thoughts without being cut off to rush through. Because like, if we want to get this done today, we're gonna have to cut out a lot. But it's like every other sentence he says requires a dissertation. My God.
It really does. I do think that, and I can't dictate this obviously because it's not my choice, but I do think I want to separate, because he didn't bring up religion until the end, and when he did, it was like Hebrew Israelite in its nature. I think we should focus the conversation on what he brings to the table, and I don't want to bring religion into it, because I feel like that could go off into a whole separate dialogue that needs like its own discussion. I think Angela was saying that too, like that requires its own discussion.
Yeah, but you know what? But I personally feel that with the spin-off of ideas, I think that it's important, because we're free ovarying over here. You know what I mean? Where we are having a flow of consciousness in this time. Like before this broadcast, I told Cynthia and Nylah that we are the modern day, we're the digital Harriet Tubmans and Sojourner Truths. This is a time of awakening for Black women, and some of that conversation involves ideas about religion and self-love and trash bag pathology and conservatism. You know, there are things that each one of us brings to the conversation that is relevant to people on their different healing journeys. I remember when I first learned about Lilith, I was like, how could they write her out the Bible? I was like, this is unbelievable when I found that. And then when I saw that the depictions of her in every piece of pop culture was of her being evil daughter of the devil, like there's some, okay, we don't have to dive into it because we can talk about that in another broadcast. But if there's something that is relevant, you know, like if there's something, you said that you're a Black female conservative. If there's something that's relevant to the conservative movement, by all means, don't feel hampered to not bring it up.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was just trying to, I understand what Irene is saying. What Irene is saying is that, you know, when we bring up religion and spirituality and everything, people get a little triggered. So it can derail from the conversation, which it will happen. But we all know how to pull back and be quiet when we need to and zip it up. But I was just saying that I was just trying to make the correlation that it goes past slavery and it goes actually back to the first, which was Adam. So that's all I was trying to say. I was trying to talk about, you know, my education on Lilith and Adam and how Adam was a snitch. He told on her to God and he threw Eve under the bus. But I mean, we're going to leave it alone, though. OK, we're going to leave it alone. But they just say they've been doing it to us since the very first one. That's all. That was the point I was trying to make.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say this because I am not religious at all. I believe that the Bible was created by man. I am spiritual, non-religious. I am all about universal source consciousness and all of that. And when I hear, you know, Black Women's Sphere speaking about, you know, religion and stuff like that, I take that as her point of view, something that's near and dear to her contribution, etc. And there's a reason why she's saying it, and she expresses in what it is that she's saying as the reason why she's saying it. So to her, Adam was the first Black man, and Adam was trifling, and Lilith grew wings out of her back and flew away. According to you, you're a daughter of Eve and you embrace that. So I am able to hear both points of views. Are we able, all of us, to hear other people's points of views and not be personally offended by that? Are we?
Oh, of course. No,
we've been doing this.
Yeah, I think we love each other. Obviously, I'm very fond of Angela and you and all the ladies, Sin and Nylah on the platform. So that's not why I was saying. I was just worried, like Angela was saying, about when we bring like specifically just religion into it, it can become like a whole other conversation. And then what I don't want to happen is like for us to, not that I don't think it's an important conversation to have. I just don't want in the breakdown of us discussing what this young man brought to the table for it to just totally go into another conversation. But I also respect that you were saying if a personal view plays into the commentary, then it makes sense to allow that. I think I'm more pushing just for balance and us not to, because I know these conversations can do that.
Absolutely.
It's like we start like vibing, and then we like start next thing you know, people are like, well, the title says something, but then y'all are talking about something.
No, for me, I think
we have to
between me
pause.
and Irene is I speak from a divine feminine point. I speak dark wisdom, Irene. So my point of view is going to be different than yours when it comes to spirituality and religion. I don't even really address religion like that, but I've studied the Bible back and forth and back. The Vatican, all the books that was taken out.
So this is what we did not want to do. This is what we didn't want to do. We didn't want to veer into more depth on religion. That's what we didn't want to do. So let's take a quick segue over to the apples. I have a surprise for you ladies. Look, Pandisia. All right. So there's a person by the name of DT who has sent in $250. And DT says $50 for each of the ladies on the panel. Thanks for all you do. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. So ladies, I'm going to divvy that out to each of you. So just make sure that you message me with your Cash App name inside of our group, okay? So thank you so much for that. That is so dope. That's really dope and so considerate. Chocolate Tea sends $10 and says, hey, turn up, it's my birthday. Thank you, panel. Hey, happy birthday, Chocolate E. Happy A. Happy A. Happy birthday. Oh, 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 oh. Hey, happy birthday, my dear. Happy birthday. All right, and so we have Miss Kansas who sends $5 and says, Olivia Pope is based on a real-life Black woman in D.C., but was that real-life Black woman sleeping with the white president of the United States? That's the question that we must ask. You know what I'm saying? All right, so thank you so much, all of you, for sending the apples through. The link to the apples are in the description. And if you want to pass your apples along to one of the ladies on the panel, I don't have all of your Cash Apps. So, you know what? How do we do that? Ladies? Any quick idea on how
What do you mean?
I'm
I don't know what you mean.
Huh?
What do you mean?
If somebody wanted to send a Cash App directly to you, how do they do that?
Oh, I think there's so many of us. I can't speak for everybody, but I think if the Cash App goes to you, I mean, I think you have
I'll
integrity.
put mine in the chat.
Okay, so Cynthia's going to put hers in the chat. Why don't you all just type yours in the chat? So if there's somebody who wants to send the Cash App directly to you, they have it right there and they know who to send it to. Because you never know, they might want to send a little personal message. You know what I mean? You never know. You never know. All right, so let's jump back into the last portion of this video before we take our break for today. All right, so I'm going to give you ladies all a chance to go ahead and type and put yours in. And while we're waiting for that, we're going to do a quick commercial break while you all type your Cash App into the chat area. And remember, support Black female content creators, support the content that you like to watch, the one that you benefit from. If you enjoy it and it's doing something for you, touching you, you're learning something. These are the conversations that are sponsored by the people, by you all. All right, so go ahead, here we go. Are you tired of missing Tanya TKO's live videos? Arriving late when the video is well underway or about to end? Are you fatigued of only seeing a live video randomly while perusing YouTube and Facebook? Or worse, randomly unsubscribed? Well, now you can get a text notification whenever I go live. No longer are we dependent on the algorithm of these fickle platforms. For just $1.99 a month US and Canada or $4.99 a month international, you get a personalized text message 15 minutes before each live show. Now, you can show up early with the Tech Squad, meet other people from all over the world, and get invited to secret broadcasts off-platform. Most importantly, support your favorite independent creator. Go to TanyaTKO.com and click on text. Join the TKO Tech Squad today. For just $1.99 a month US and Canada, or $22 a year if you pay in advance, $4.99 a month international, $50 a year if you pay in advance, you'll never again be tardy to the party. I'll see you on the next broadcast. TanyaTKO.com/text. So welcome back. Welcome back. Wait, what's happening? What's going on? Well underway or I don't know what's happening. Hold on. Fatigued of only. Hold on. I don't know what just happened, but we got over it. It's gone. It's done. All right. So welcome back, ladies. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. All right. So I trust everybody had a chance, all of the ladies on the panel, to put their Cash Apple tag inside of the comments. All right, so let's jump back into a little bit more of this video just so he could get this final point out, and then we'll go from there. All right. My face.
We're talking about being socially acceptable among some of the most reputable people in America that's majority white, and most of them are conservatives, and you're not gonna come up here with a Black family. It's just probably not going to happen, or they've been indoctrinated on that way before they left the hood, way before they left where they were coming from. They end up with a white woman.
What do you mean?
I just don't understand.
Better?
That's the part I don't understand.
What do you mean looks better? Help us understand. Looks better. It looks better for a Black man to be with a white woman on his arm.
All I'm saying is that white women are more socially acceptable than Black women, per se. Same with the white male. But the same with the black male, I mean.
What do you mean same thing with the black male? When you say same thing, I need you to explain to me what you mean by same thing. That a white man is more socially acceptable or the black man is more socially acceptable?
The white man is more socially acceptable. And see, and the thing is, when you, I don't know if this is a part of your personal experience or not, but when you've heard black women specifically speaking on trying interracial relationships, what would be their reasoning mainly behind it?
Why black women try interracial relationships?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't spoken with black women about why they try interracial relationships. Why don't you enlighten us?
I've spoken to a lot of black women, mainly the black women I'm interested in, you know what I mean? And it's been because
Listen,
white man is more stable,
Julius,
a white man ain't gonna cheat on you.
Julius,
Yes, ma'am.
listen. I need you to be doing nothing else right now except paying attention to this conversation. I want you to talk to me
I
so that
am.
I can understand what it is that you're saying. So please say that again I interrupted you. So say that again so I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
About white men and white women being more socially acceptable than black
Uh-huh.
men and black women. That is. Oh yeah. From the women that I've spoken to mainly, the reasoning from behind them going white is, I hear this all the time. I got my white boy. And one, because the white man is more pushoverish. They can have, you're gonna have a fight in there with two black a man and a woman. She might be headstrong. Another one is he's more stable. They think they're not gonna cheat on them. And all of this is from all these stigmatisms and these social stigmatisms behind being white and being black in the dating field. And I know this to be true. I've heard this all the time. They make it into
My face, why do I look so distraught? Lord have mercy. I want to get a comment from one of you on this. What are your thoughts so far? What is going on?
Okay, so this guy says that white women and black men and black women are less socially acceptable.
Together, yes.
Is he serious? I mean, that literally is the epitome of self-hate. And actually, I think this is a perfect illustration of what Cynthia is talking about when she talks about how they really want to acquiesce to whiteness in the worst way. That he should be embarrassed. And he did make a reference to having some sort of learning disability. And now I'm starting to believe that it's true.
He said he has dyslexia.
Yeah, but typically dyslexic people are not cognitively defunct, if that's the word.
Right. So you're saying that he has something else except for dyslexia?
It's something else. He may just be calling himself dyslexic to mask his undiagnosed Tyrone spectrum as
It's self-hatlia. That's what
right.
it is.
Right. But that I think was very telling that he believes this, so this is why so many of them believe that their climb to excellence is through, as Irene would say, the badge of a white woman.
Okay. All right. Let's continue. Where are you getting this from?
I got my white boy.
Where are you getting this from?
Personal experiences, social media. It's all over social media, mainly from personal experiences.
Okay, and then
and it's like it seems like black women are fed up with black men, and they don't even want to try it anymore. But that's a different reasoning from a man getting with a white man getting with a black woman. He's not fed up with his white woman.
Okay, let's hear. What is his reason? What is the white man's reason?
What I think, because I'm not a white man, I can only speak from a black man's perspective, is that this white man, he must want something from her. He must want something from her.
Something like
I got
what?
my black
I need you to be
queen,
specific.
is what I hear. I got my black queen.
Okay.
Say again.
I got my black
And
queen.
and I
So he wants something from her? What does he want from her?
it, it might be popular. It might be something from these black women that they're getting, a little fat booty that they heard about. Maybe they heard about something from them black women. Maybe they heard it because we are some of the best women on the planet here, is my personal opinion. But it's
Oh, my Lord. Ladies, when a white man gets with a black woman, he wants something from her. He got my black queen. It may be popular. Come on. What is he talking about?
Girl, I don't think I can say stuff that won't get you in trouble on YouTube for this one. So I'm
Nylah, can you ad lib? What is it that you want to say?
honestly, I can't say, like, please, somebody, please.
Cynthia, okay. Articulate yourself, Cynthia, because Nylah is at a loss of non-expletive words, I suppose. All right. We'll just go. Everybody's at a loss.
Well, I'll say this. I think, I don't know what he was thinking when he said that, but I do think that for white men to go throughout the earth and routinely make access to black women a priority for themselves, even to the emotional detriment of their own women, that there is something that they're seeking within the black womb, the black female womb. And I think he's saying that. I don't think he understands what he's saying, but I'm sure that the way that I perceive it and the way that he perceives it are very different. And I really do think that understanding that there is something of value within black women that supersedes race, that everyone sees in black women. I think that's part of why he has such a disdain for when there's interactions between white men and black women, and why he feels that he can also, right, find elevation between those interactions. He's kind of distorting the elevation that white men feel in their engagement with black women and white men's fixation on black women globally over hundreds of years. I think he's distorting that to justify his own belief in elevation of white vag. Now, I'll say this, I'm unmoved by the fact that he repeatedly keeps saying that he's only with black women and that it's not necessarily something he approves of, because I've seen black men dedicate their whole careers and spew rhetoric very similar to his that ultimately left their black partners to chase that idolatry that they have for white women. So I think his whole mentality is just heavily distorted and self-hating and confused. And he's trying to make sense of something, and secretly, like, probably, I noticed this a lot, having a kind of jealousy against his black female counterparts. I'm uncomfortable with saying that, but that's, the more he talks, and we'll hear it as she plays it, the more you're going to see that come out.
Yeah, I want to jump in on the tail end of what you were saying, because white men didn't make black women a priority throughout history, like lusting a person and using them for their body and womb, because he didn't set us free. We were still enslaved. And not only that, the children that we bore of his sperm, he kept those children enslaved too. So going around the world and making sure that he dipped his penis in a black woman's body is not a compliment to her, because where were his resources going? Where was his attention and wealth building and generation and legacy? Where was that going? Some of these barbarians sold their own children.
No, I actually agree with you on that, as far as the strategicness of always uplifting whiteness. no matter what their inclinations were sexually or socially. So I do agree with you on that aspect. I don't disagree there, but I still assert that it's a distortion of that constant barrage of attention toward Black female bodies that's happening in his mind, to think that the equivalent can be done in the adverse to uplift Black men, and that he's kind of justifying Black men's interaction with white women in the same way that white men interacted with Black men, regardless of the fact that he lacks the social power or even the valuation in Blackness to move in those ways, right? Because, and that's what I was saying earlier, white men always use their relationship with Black women as an elevation of whiteness, right? Their lust for Black women didn't replace them elevating whiteness. And that that white women despise the fact that white men constantly wanted access to Black women. And no matter how much they elevated the white woman, they were still jealous of Black women because of that lust. But that Black men don't take it to that next level. They focus purely on sexual access, but not the uplifting of Blackness or the valuation of Black women. And I think that's what I meant. I don't know if that's making sense to you, or to those listening, as the distortion and kind of the inverting of that ideology without an understanding of it.
Okay. All right. We'll jump back in.
It's all different reasonings behind why one would get with the other one, why a Black man would get with a white woman, why a Black woman would get with a white man. But it's all these different reasonings,
Yeah,
and they're
so what
based
is
on
the
social
reason?
aspects.
The reason
Based on social aspects.
the reason why Black men are getting with white women. So you said white men are getting with Black women because they want something from her, might have heard about the fat booty. You said Black
Might have
women are
heard of
getting with
something.
Black women are getting with
Jungle
white
fever.
men because they feel that he may be more stable and not going to cheat on her. So what is the reason that Black men get with white women then?
I've heard this from a Black male. They're easier to control. If you want full control over the kids, get you a white woman or a Mexican. I've heard things like this. I've seen things like this, and why people get with white women. And to be honest,
Damn. Did you ladies hear that? Ladies?
How could that make sense when they have these kids with these women and the women end up being the custodial parent every time, almost? When have you seen a Black man walking around with his mixed kids that he has custody over? It happens, but that's very rare.
I'm confused as to why he automatically jumped into the dominance and having control over the children. So if you want to have control and dominance and be an overlord, get with a white or Mexican woman, because in his fantasy, he's going to be able to have what control over the children. And then also, if he did have the control, it's because that white woman in her family didn't want those biracial children. What is he talking about? That's not a compliment. The number of biracial children worldwide that end up in orphanages once the GIs go back home or whatnot, it's like if the community doesn't want those biracial children in there, you're like, oh yeah, I got control, I got custody. That's not a compliment to you and your ilk.
What does he do with control of the children, I wonder? Like, control of children is great, but like, what are you doing with that? I'm
That's an
just curious
interesting
where he
question.
thinks that's leading.
Yeah, this is something else. My gosh. Cynthia, did Cynthia jump off? Let me know if Cynthia's still around, because I want to hear her point of view on this. This is unbelievable. Woman's Sphere?
Yeah, I'm here.
Thoughts?
I feel like I really feel like Julius period was just not prepared for the conversation. To summarize it, I feel like he was not prepared for it. I feel like he is someone that has been watching our spaces because when I was watching yesterday, I felt a very like familiar energy. I'm like, is something familiar about this? I mean, his words were familiar, of course, because we hear all Black men saying it. But his energy itself, I felt like I've heard it before, or I've seen it before, or it's probably commented before. So I think that he wasn't prepared for the answers and questions that was given to him. And I think that he was just ready to catapult it into something else. I don't believe that it really was initially about Chrysalin. Oh, sorry. About her and, you know, her relationship. I believe it was his whole ideology on white men and what it represents to him and how he feels about white men, because he doesn't care about Black women at all. I can tell you that. He does not care about Black women at all. He cares about the fact that he's Black and white men have access to Black women. And especially now, Black women are starting to open up more. They're starting to allow themselves to choose other options. They aren't as race loyal as they were in the past. So I think a lot of Black men are teetering on the fact that they know that their day is coming. And I think he's just one of, you know, he's one of many that knows that. And he's trying to grasp it in a way to gain control of Black women and try to make us feel as if we should feel guilty, we should feel bad, because that's been the course of what they've done over generations and generations. If we really want to talk about slavery, really, like I tell people all the time, the biggest hoodwink and game ran on Black women was to teach us as we move forward past slavery to hate white men, because then that took us off the market for other races. We weren't on a market for other races of men. We were just race loyal because we felt like everybody was out to get the Black man. So we didn't pay attention to other groups of men. And now that Black women are awakening, I believe there's a deep fear in Black men that they just aren't courageous and honest and sympathetic and compassionate enough to just say, hey, I'm scared that Black women are going to leave us all, because they know that Black women have been the backbone to their communities, to raising their children, to mothering them, fighting for them, marching for them, getting laws passed for them. Black women have been the blood, sweat, and tears behind everything that pushes up and promotes a Black man. So I think that Julius is just one of many, like I said, that does not know how to just say, what did we do wrong and where do we need to go? Because for real, that's all they need to say. What did we do wrong? Where do we need to go? But they refuse to say it because they refuse to feel like we have done all of the work that we've done. They don't want to give us credit for it. They don't want to say it because they know it leads back to their inadequacy. It's going to lead back to that. So instead of admitting it, they're going to continue fighting us. And it's really just that simple. That's what he was doing.
So I think this whole thing of him saying, you know, Black men are going to white women because of this control thing, I think part of it is this, of course, this desire to express dominance. But I think it's a delusion, because this is the thing. Number one, Black men don't have the control in the relationship. When you elevate whiteness to the degree that Black men do, there's no possible way you're going to control it. It's going to control you. Because a man that thinks a woman is better than him, a man that views women the way that Black men view white women, they're not going to go in that position asserting dominance. What they're going to do is tiptoe around that woman and succumb to her because he thinks that he's fortunate to be with her. But I think this whole promoting it that way is to say, look, Black women, if you're not going to give us what we want, if you're not going to let us express ourselves as men with you, then we're going to go to these women who we perceive to be much weaker. Although we keep elevating her whiteness as power, we still perceive her as much weaker than us and easier for us to control. So really, it just speaks to his weakness as a man, because everything that Black men are going for is, what is the most weakness? What is the weakest woman I can go to? What is the most pliable woman that I can go to? Because he needs something weak in order to try and appear to be stronger. other. That is what it is for Black men. It's simply a display of his weakness at the end of the day. But he's not controlling anything. You can't control kids that you're abandoning. Black men don't take care of their biracial children. They're more likely to walk out on their biracial children than they are on their Black children. So I agree with Woman Spear. He wasn't prepared for the conversation. He's ignorant. And I think that he's just spewing the same talking points that Black men usually spew to try and shame and manipulate Black women into acting the way that they want us to act, because this is their last ditch effort to try to grasp control of a situation that they already know they don't have any control of, and they're losing any opportunity to get control of it to begin with. So this is desperation at play at the end of the day.
Prophesy, Papa!
Yes, thank you, Sin. That was well needed. Oh my goodness. All right, so listen, we are an hour into the original video right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an hour each day. So an hour today, we're going to break down an hour of it tomorrow, and then an hour of it the day after that. And because for those of you who don't know, the conversation descends so much further. Crystalline Karazin gets on the line, and Cynthia gets on the line. I'll forward into the video a bit. Remember, we're at the 1 hour mark today. So
yeah, I think the second part of it is actually the better part of it. The more interesting and fruitful part of it is that second part, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a little portion
I need to focus my attention on Julius's logic, because he said a lot of things that were just confusing to me.
So Crystalline,
actually, it didn't come up until you brought it up, sir. Congratulations.
Well, why is it such a big deal? Is your relationship still ongoing?
So let's talk more about you.
So he wanted to find out whether or not he broke their relationship up. Let's see if we can find one of the parts where he's talking in tongues.
Situation where it was some a little bit, and it's kind of like, like for the longest of time.
Where are you getting the information from? I only have 5 minutes left on backstage.
Information from that
he
white
can't
man.
Hear you, unfortunately.
Oh,
Let me bring him back. Oh, this is when I had to put him out the room, because I had not heard of this before.
About Love versus Virginia. I'm pretty sure you Google searched that just now too. So let me Google search it and read it and see.
No.
Sir.
This is that's the case that ended anti-miscegenation.
That are not being noted.
There were people who were protesting in the year of Loving versus Virginia. This man was so ignorant. He just did not know. It was just saying some stuff, but it's your turn to say your final word to him. This is when I had to start turning off his microphone. No, you lost. Listen, you know, the thing is, you've lost your access to be able to have your voice heard online, so you're just backstage right now. This is after I had to take his. Why did I have to take him off at that point? What was he doing? Let's see real quick.
So they're using phallic logic.
Let me see.
Is slap the
That's what I had to
information from that white man.
I can't hear you. I don't have the right. I don't have the sound bites, but the conversation devolved. He was talking in tongues. He was talking to himself. I had to tell him I would out crazy him. It turned into a boondoggle. It was a mess. It was just a mess.
Was that the first time he started screaming?
You know, he started screaming about Emmett Till as soon as, you know what? I don't know what it was about Cynthia. Yes. When Cynthia came on the panel, he lost it. He lost it when Cynthia got up there. Let me see if I can find when Cynthia first comes up. Because when Cynthia first came on, so let's see. When Cynthia first came up, for some reason, he sensed something about Cynthia. And he went off the rails. I don't understand why he had this reaction to her.
I will
Someone
say
in the chat said that he had been on my channel.
Crystalline, if you want to have a discussion, we can have one.
Oh yeah, that's when things got a little hairy. Okay, here.
Wait, hold on. What does consumerism have to do with one's social position? What does consumerism have to do with that?
Are you serious? We live in a capitalistic society.
I know.
Hold on. I just hold on. I just want to interrupt right here. Julius, we're all friends here. No one is upset with you.
one's social status in this country, even white women's, how is it then that white women can elevate Black men's social status when she can't even keep hers from declining?
Because her position was given.
How convinced? Are you saying that white men?
Where's the Emmett Till part? But you know, she's.
How elevate him to who?
Oh my gosh, I can't
because
find
he
it.
looks better with that white woman on his arm to these white billionaires and millionaires.
So you
come
so
on now.
You
why
think,
are all these athletes getting married to white women? Why?
Julius, I'll answer your question because it's very simple in a minute. Are you trying to convince us that white men
I'm not trying
see
to
Black
convince
men
anyone.
as okay? Take out convince.
Right, but you know, this I had to stop it right here for what
Julius,
reason?
It's a social construct that white men
that has been going on way before we were born.
When did he start screaming Emmett Till? Because he just came out of nowhere with it. I wish
in society at
I
all.
wish we had the
How can
timestamp.
now the white
To let you ladies know that I just sent you all the part 2 link because this. Oh my goodness! Listen, all right. I can't find where he started screaming out Emmett Till and Emmett Till was murdered. He how dare you! It turned into foolishness. It turned into foolishness. But we will get to that tomorrow. So ladies, go ahead and give your final word on part 1 and to wrap up thus far.
I'll just say that we just saw up close and personal the blueprint for the 3 trash bag struggle bandit mentality. And I appreciate you inviting us on. I think this was an awesome breakdown. I can't wait for part 2.
Thank you. Somebody said it's at 148, which is just a few seconds after where I stopped there. Hold on. Let me see if it's at 148. Hold on. This is going to end in a few moments. It's going to end in 6 minutes. So in 6 minutes, this backstage is going to end, but I sent you a link to the new one. But I think I understand what he's saying. I think he's saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Julius, I think he's saying that Black men started out with their status so low, being seen as rapists and murderers, and that I guess in like maybe some movie Birth of a Nation, a white woman jumped off a cliff because she didn't want to be assaulted. And so now she's with him willingly, and that raises his status because now she's willingly taking this person who was seen as less than an animal and choosing to be with him. So with the glory of her whiteness and her white privilege and white power, she has now elevated him by showing that he's worthy enough to be with a white woman. Is that correct?
Yes, they're no longer condemning them to death.
But here's the thing: that is in Black men's mind. No, that's not reality, Julius.
Oh, no, you say that shit about Emmett Till. That's my you say that shit to Emmett Till. You can't say that shit to Emmett Till, man. Don't play with that shit, man.
Hold on, Julius.
Ladies, that's called a Napier meltdown.
Ladies, whoever gave me that timestamp, thank you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't even know what triggered him. What kind of psychotic break did he have?
I came on the panel.
Listen, we're gonna play that one more time. We're just gonna play that one more time. I just need to hear that again. Hold on. Let's rewind it just a tiny bit here. Here we go. A white woman. Is that correct?
Yes, they're no longer condemning them to death.
But here's the thing: that is in Black men's mind. No, that's not reality, Julius.
Oh, no, you say that shit about Emmett Till. That's my you say that shit to Emmett Till. You can't say that shit to Emmett Till, man. Don't play with that shit, man.
Hold on, Julius. Why? Why did he have to start going there? Why?
Why was he hollering like that? You can't say that shit about Emmett Till.
You know, I don't know, but black men in this space have a habit of doing that. Whenever I try to talk to them, they have a dusty meltdown where their trash bag breaks open and all that trash starts spilling out. That's basically what happened with him.
Stop.
The trash bags break
Why
open.
did Sin try to reason with him afterward? Do you remember she's all trying to make it all make sense? I'm like, Sin is being so kind right now.
This was so much. This was so much. And then after that, it just went. And then remember towards the end, he started talking to himself and started trying to act crazy. And I had to tell him he didn't want to see my split personality. Oh, my Lord. All right, listen. We will get into that and more tomorrow. So, Nylah, you gave your goodbyes, right? Black Woman Sphere, go ahead and give your goodbyes and your summation on all of this. And then we're going to read, we have a few more apples with a joint contribution. So if you all want to send any apples, now is the time to send it because I'm going to read them right before we get off the air. So go ahead, Woman Sphere. All right, so we'll jump back around to her because we can't hear you. I don't know if you're on mute or you had to take a phone call or whatnot. So Irene, please go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to thank you for, number one, I don't know how you found him, but having that discussion with him in the first place. And second of all, taking the time out to do a 3-part series where you delve further into it, because I think this is such an important conversation to have. And I really, although he may or may not feel some kind of way now, I just commend him on being so open and transparent, because I think he said a lot of things that a lot of, there are many Black men who think like this, but would never feel comfortable to kind of bare themselves like that. And at first I did think he was drunk or on drugs or unstable, but I think he was being genuine, and his frustration just really came from somehow the fact that when he finally voiced his thoughts, it didn't make sense. And that would have never happened if you wouldn't have facilitated the conversation.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Is Irene back? All right. So we're going to jump over. Sin, go ahead and give your summation and your goodbyes. Oh, is Cynthia disposed as well? Okay. So let's jump over to the apples real quick. We'll read the apples and then we'll come back with Cynthia, Cynthia, Angela, and then my goodbye. All right. So let's give here we go. All right. Fabiola sends 222 and says, I love how you about your apples. You're so sweet. Thank you. Yes, I am about my apples. And Daphne has come in with $50 and says 10 for each of the ladies and heart. So ladies, I have $60 for each of you. Thank you so much, Daphne. Thank you for supporting Black female content creators. Thank you, because it's so important to support the content that you love, because that's what makes it all possible. We're talking about 3 hours today with 5 people on the panel and giving out lessons that are so poignant and so relevant. So if you're enjoying or learning or benefiting and you want to support, by all means, please support the content creators who help you in the ways that you need to be helped. Nancy sends $10 and says, your work is very appreciated. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. And Farida sends $5 and says, what do Black men want Black women to do with their statements on Black women versus white women? That's interesting. What do they want us to do? What do they want Black women to do, period? It's like they just want you to sit there being single, celibate, child-free, and lonely while they sit around talking about how much you want them, etc. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't get it, and I don't know. There's 2 million less Black men in this country than there are Black women. So what is it that they want Black women to do? Just be single, celibate, lonely forever? It just doesn't make any sense. Carlos sends $5 and says,
for the calf. Oh, Lord. Carlos is a calf freak. Okay. Well, my calf is right here. My calf is right here. All right. So, ladies, thank you all so much for coming out. Let me just refresh one more time and see if we... All right. Perfect. If you send any apples when we're off air, I'll just read them off air and I'll send you back an emoji to let you know that I got it. So, Angela, Cynthia, either one of you back yet?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm here.
All right, go ahead. Give your
Mine
goodbyes and your summation, Angela.
Mine just cut out.
I think my summary and the whole outlook of Julius and his magical meltdowns that he was having on the stream is that this is just really just a precursor to everything that is Black men, because he hasn't even made it to the actual destruction of what Black men cause until you get to the second part of the video. So I think he kind of just warmed himself up. So I think this is a warm up of Black male degeneracy and their dysfunction. That's how I looked at it, as a warm up.
Oh, how interesting. And someone in the comments said that they want a 1-to-5 ratio. And that does seem to be the case. Like when I was in Atlanta, men used to brag that there was a 1-to-16 ratio and how many women they had to choose from. But they didn't really seem to be concerned or care about the fact that women didn't have their own man. It's like they don't really see us as people or as human. They just see us as objects for their use and dismissal. Cynthia, come forward and give your summation on this part of the broadcast and your farewells for today.
I will say this is the trash bag struggle dusty pathology personified, and stay tuned for part 2 because there's more to come and there's more to learn. And thanks so much, Tanya, for inviting me on to break this down with you.
You know, I really appreciate that. You know, this was something that was demanded by the people. So I appreciate all of you coming over and participating in the content and helping me learn and helping other women and men, because it is my hope that there are men who are listening and realize, yeah, you know, this doesn't make sense logically. Because some of the things you have to hear out loud, you have to hear. This is why it was so important for him to get his point of view out, because I feel that there's a lot of people who have that point of view, and I'm hoping that once it reaches air, that people will realize it just doesn't hold up. It just doesn't hold up. Once it reaches the light of day, it just crumbles. And a lot of this, like, it doesn't make sense. Because like in part 2, Cynthia was asking him what do Black men have power? I think in part 3, he actually had the breakdown with white men have no power, that Black men have the power. And then we started asking, how were they enslaved for so long? And these questions need to be asked and answered. And I think that this is not only a time for Black women's awakening, but I also think that society at large can stand to ask questions. And Black women really need to step into our power, our goddess energy, and rise up from the cloud that we've been under. So I am your host, Tanya TKO, and I am a self-love specialist from TanyaTKO.com. I help people learn how to love themselves and one another. On this channel, we typically use viral video topics as teachable moments for what self-love or self-abuse looks like in your life. And self-abuse is feeling that a person is more elevated than you because of their lack of melanin, because of the barbarism of their ancestors, and remaining submissive and subjugated just on the mere essence of their skin color. It's like, I don't think Black men really understand the self-hate that is perpetuated when he thinks that a woman who he covets for her skin color makes him a better person and more acceptable to the men who have oppressed him. So he's like, look, daddy, I made it. On that note, go out there and love one another. But most importantly, what? Love yourself. And part of loving yourself is asking yourself the tough questions, having these tough conversations, and questioning your own point of view. Because if you felt a certain way and you feel a way and you don't bring it to the light of day, then how will you How will you ever know whether or not your theory passes the smell test? How will you ever know? Oh, look, some people dropped some apples for each of us before we jumped out of here. Let me bring these up right now. Here we go. So I miss my apples music, honestly, but there's no cam for me to do my shoulder dance. All right. So Tarakisha sends $10 and says, I appreciate your content. Thank you, T-Ro. And Ebony sends $50. Hey, Ebony. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. She sends $50, $10 for each of us. So I have $70 for each of you ladies. Remember that. Let me write that down right now. So I have $70 for each of you. Right? Wonderful. Thank you. This is so beautiful. This is wonderful. Christina sends $111 and she says, Black men want Black women to be a constant fuel to their ego. Fuck yeah. That is what I saw in Married at First Sight with Chris and Paige. He did not want to let go of his egoic supply. He needed her there to provide his upliftment. Like he wanted to be exalted by her desire so that he could only just kick her back down again. So thank you so much for that. And, I know there's a little bit of a delay. So if I get off of here and you all still want to send group apples for all of us, I'll be more than happy to share it along as it comes in. So thank you all so much. You all are so dope. You are the dopest. You are the knockout. So I really appreciate you all for coming out and spending this time here with us today. And I appreciate you all coming out with us tomorrow. So listen, ladies, thank you all so much. And if you all feel so inclined, especially you, Nylah, Cubanita, we're going to ask you to stand up and share and bust a wine. Oops, hold on. Here we go. Hey, thank you all so much for coming out. Hey, I'm going to put your comments up on the screen. All right. I wish I could dance for you all. That's one of my favorite parts. I know I'm doing my little shimmy. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We will see you tomorrow. Make sure that you're part of the text notification squad so that you get the text so that you know right before we come out. So go ahead and throw up those boxing gloves. Get up and move your waist left and right and left and right. Come on. Thank you all so much. Hey. Thank you for coming out and participating in this conversation today. Hey, 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 hey. This is my favorite part. All right. Thank you all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You all are the best. We will see you tomorrow, Text Notification Squad. You will get your text. If you want to join the Text Notification Squad, it's only $1.99 a month, and the link is in the description of this video. I will see you all in the next video. Tanya TKO, and I